Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 20 most anticipated games of 2023. It is yet again that time of the year to talk about the future because this is what we do. Instead of playing the thousands of games that come out in one year, it's like, well, that's all old news. Let's go ahead and talk about the next year. And there's going to be this video, and then we'll have another one also of just extra games because we just have a long running list of most of these, but these are the 20 that we are most excited about. Although I am slightly cheating in my list because I have 22, so we always do an honorable mention. But one of mine, and the reason why I did this is because one of mine is still possible to come out this year in December, and it was like number 4. So it was so high up on the list that I didn't want to steal up a slot that high, and then end up getting it this year.
Yeah, there's a couple on my list that, I mean, I don't know if they're going to make it by the end of the year or not, because I mean that's only a month and a half away.
Exactly.
So 2 months, I guess. But so I don't think any of mine will be out. I know someone's getting close.
Mm-hmm. It's probably going to be like January, the first week in January.
Right, something like that.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with my number 22. But this one will be very short because it's basically a sequel to an already extremely large kind of game. And so there's not a whole lot to it, but I am super invested in this world and I really like this game. And that is Middara, Unintentional Malum Act 2. And I talked to these guys actually at Gen Con this year, and I was like, hey, do you know if it's going to be coming out this year? And they said it's already on the boats. So my thought process is if it's out in 2022, it's going to be, like December, Christmas time, I think is what they are hoping. But yeah, Middara is a basically JRPG board game. It has NDG at the bottom, which is a narrative driven game. And this is probably the game that I have that has the most reading. It is insane, like with how much lore there is. But what's really cool about this one is the fact that it's the characters that you play are already written characters. It's their story that you're going through and you just build them up, kind of like what you would do in a JRPG. So it's not true role playing where you make the characters and then kind of have to role play with them as you make decisions like some others. But I think the writing for this is pretty well done. They have the Foreteller app for it, and it's made some better changes than what was actually written in the book. But this one is fantastic. It's truly like customizable with any type of gameplay that you want to do. And I would imagine Act 2 is already just going to be more of the same, but we don't know. I don't know if it's going to continue because I haven't finished Act 1 yet, but I'm getting there. I think I'm in chapter 3 of 5. So we're slowly getting there. But yeah, so the reason, and this is the one that was number 4, like it was so high up on my 20 anticipated. I'm like, this might come out, so I'll just put it at the back end and talk about other games. So yeah.
That'll work.
All right. Well, now let's go to 21, my actual honorable mention, and I'll just keep talking. And I was actually surprised that this game wasn't higher, but I'm also kind of skeptical a little bit about it just because I don't really see what they can do with it, but I'm intrigued because I trust this company. So my number 21 is Sagrada Artisans. This is supposed to be a legacy game of Sagrada. And if you're not familiar with Sagrada, that is a dice drafting puzzle game where you are slotting certain colored dice and values into I want to say maybe 4x4 slot, and you're making stained glass. So, and then there's rules and stuff that, make it a puzzle of how you place the dice. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, it's just a legacy version of that. I think that could be interesting. So I don't know. I really don't know much about this one. That's why it's kind of further out. I did back this because I really like Sagrada. And yeah, I mean, legacy game for it can't be too bad. I would imagine it would be a little bit more like Decorum, which is their campaign style, abstract passive aggressive game, but that had progression of a story. I would imagine this could be something like that. I don't know if they're going to go true like theme. I don't know if they're going to try and make theme around when Stained Glass was made.
Yeah. All I know is that I think from what I've heard on a kind of like a little preview review or something of it is I think it's gonna be a resettable legacy game. So it's not gonna be like your typical where you're trashing stuff and everything. So
which is something that I feel like is going by the wayside, like the permanent, like you're done at like back when Pandemic Legacies were coming out, and then they did like Charterstone. Those were all kind of one and done. Although with Charterstone, it gave you the back of the board, so you could play it again, but then you were kind of done. But then you could play it as a regular game. Yeah, it just says players will compete as rival families of stained glass artisans who work on the Sagrada Familia's windows over the course of generations. Cool. Yeah, I mean, sounds like it could be a fun time. So yeah, that's my number 21.
All right. Well, my number 21 is it's expansion content for a game.
Okay. Oh yeah, we should mention expansions are on this list as well.
Yeah, and the reason I put it at 21 because it's not like a huge expansion. It's just more content for a game that's rose super fast up it previewed super high on my top 100 list. And that is the Burn Cycle recruit stuff.
I didn't even think of this at all.
It just adds a new corporation. It adds some more bots and a little bit more stuff.
And flat rate shipping.
Yeah.
So and that's pretty cool.
And she said it was hard to find some pictures of this stuff.
I know.
So but
sometimes.
But then also the big change with this Kickstarter was they gave you the ability to get the brass mags for this. Plus they've added brass mags for all the captains that are already in the game and stuff to differentiate those, which is awesome. That's pretty much why I just put it here. It's just more to a game that's one of my favorites from last year, and you can't go wrong with chip theory game stuff. It's all
really
badass.
Can't. It's this one might have made it. I was just talking to a friend of mine about Burn Cycle, and I've had two instances. This game is not really polarizing, but it's not going to be for everyone. Because I've played it with two friends of mine. They really liked it, but I played it with another friend of mine and he didn't like it. And it's like, yeah, if you're the kind of person that's all guns blazing and stuff, this is not the game for you.
Right.
I really like the heist aspect of it and the puzzle nature. So yeah, this is a solid one.
And another cool little story is, can you see my mouse pointer moving around?
Yeah.
See this picture right here, that lady?
Yeah, it's my girlfriend.
No, actually there is and I don't know the exact connection to it, but she is the wife of a guy that's on a Chip Theory Games page, like a deal, and she had passed away of cancer or something like that not very long ago. And she was really big into their games, and they made tribute to her by putting her as a bot in one of the deals. It was
That's really
pretty
cool.
neat little story.
That is pretty neat. It makes my joke seem super insensitive. But I did not know that story.
No, I
made that joke at all. But no, that is really neat.
Yeah, Chip Theory. They just do things the right way.
They really do. They really do. And I was actually able to get. This is totally off a side note, but Hoplomachus was available on pre-order, and I'm like, yes, thank you, because they don't really do anything special for their Kickstarters. It's just probably cheaper to get it on there. But anyway, good deal. Good deal. All right. My number 20, so the one that is actually higher on the list, this one I don't believe is going to end up making it in 2022. And so therefore I would imagine it's going to be higher on your list, if not your number one. It might, I don't think it'll be your number one. I kind of have a suspicion of what might be your most anticipated. But this is a solo or / co-op narrative game that has been talked about quite some time. I've seen updated production pictures, and there seems like there is a ton of content in this game. I still don't even know much about the actual lore, but a cooperative, like a 2-player, like or solo designed game sounds super fun. So that is the
yes.
Isofarian Guard. Yeah, like this one, there just seems like there's just so much in this, and it's about, let's see. It's Isofar, a wildland severe in its beauty. People take great pride in their ability to flourish among the hostile wildlife and cruel elements of their mountainous home. So travel through the cities and wilderness of Isofar on a beautifully illustrated world map, fight off enemies using a unique and highly customizable battle system. So, I mean, I'm just gonna spoil a little bit. Most of the games that I have on here are campaign narrative driven games. Those are still the games I gravitate towards the most. And the fact that this one, I usually only play these kinds of games at 2 anyway, just it's just easier to do a campaign with one other person instead of 3. But this one's designed specifically for that. Like, I'm extremely intrigued to see how fun it'll be either solo, but I also like the fact you can play with one other person.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is the miniatures are like one miniature is 2 of the characters on the same base. So like when you're playing through each branch of the story, you have to control those 2 characters because when you use Foreteller, it's ran with those 2 characters, like the story runs through with those characters.
I see. Okay, so they are kind of fleshed out, already made characters.
Yes.
Okay.
And you're going through and doing stuff. Now, the one drawback to this game, now there's tons of content, so you're going to get your money's worth. But like once you've played through the story with those 2 characters, it's not like you can go back with other characters and do it. You can, but you're not going to be able to. The Foreteller is not going to make sense. You know what I'm saying?
I see.
It's like so each pair is going to have their own thread of the story that you're going through all these missions and stuff through the campaign.
Oh, okay.
And then you know, but if you want to know this more about this world, there's a game that came out previously by this company called the Stonebound Saga.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is another board game that takes place in this world that came out before. It's been out for a few years or so, but
that came out in 2018. Okay.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, this is a good one for sure. I've seen. It's like I thought they were getting close to having it put out because
I thought so too.
There was like they sent out that one production copy to like Board Game Co. and Quackalope and all those guys.
Yeah.
They were doing like unboxings and looking at it and stuff, but then it just kind of stopped.
Yeah. They were like, oh, hey man, this looks really cool. All right, we can't play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures and like the cards and stuff do kind of look like it gives me Gloomhaven vibes with how like the card system works. So yeah.
Well, battle system's really cool with the poker chips and stuff too.
Yeah. Yep. So this one should be pretty solid.
Yep.
Number 20.
All right. So my number 20 is on this list. It's probably going to be a shitty game, but I like the IP that it's based on. And it's by a company I really don't even know either. But I'll just go ahead and show it. It's Escape from New York. This is based on an old 80s movie with Kurt Russell that I watched a bunch when I was younger. Kevin Wilson is the person, and he's done I can't remember. He's done quite a bit of stuff. He's done
Arkham Horror, Game of Thrones.
So he's done. He has some decent pedigree, you know, with stuff. But pretty much the theme of this is like, in the movie, New York has turned into this like it's an enclosed prison town. Like all the heathens and everybody live in this area, kind of like today.
Because this is a John Carpenter movie,
right?
And I was like, "Is that what?" And I was kind of thinking that it mentions it on
right.
the Board Game Geek page.
And the president gets stuck in the town, and Snake Plissken, that's who Kurt Russell's character was. he's a criminal type person, but they say if you go in there and rescue the president, then you get pardoned or whatever. So that's kind of the theme of this. It's a semi-cooperative thing. You go in there with, there's other people that you control, and you're trying to get the president out. And you have a certain time limit. I think it's like 24 hours and stuff. So I don't know hardly anything about it. I mean, there's some pictures on BGG, a little bit of like the board and stuff. Like I said, I don't have much expectations for this other than the theme. I just want to see how it gets going with the theme, plus Kevin Wilson being it's not going to be a complete shit show, I wouldn't think, but
probably not.
I mean, it has, its tile placement, hand management, of stuff and deck construction.
The publisher has, I mean, some notable, like their hand in quite a few really good games. So it could end up being a sleeper, like a pretty good, like solid game with its publisher and designer.
Yeah. So I just figured, I'd give it a shot because of.
I don't think I've seen a single John Carpenter movie. So
yeah. This is an early one. Like this is like an 80s movie.
Yeah.
This one, big time. Because there was another one called Escape from LA that came out.
Yeah, and I heard that one wasn't as good.
No, it wasn't. it had Kurt Russell in it again, playing the same character. But
right.
Well,
good deal. All right. My number 19 is gonna seem a little bit weird, but this was finally announced. It should be going on Kickstarter hopefully soon, and then hopefully delivering next year as well. But that's obviously remains to be seen, but I have high hopes. My number 19 is technically expansion content, and this was a long time coming, and this is one that I think will be super high on your list, and that is Cthulhu Death May Die Season 3.
Fear of the Unknown.
Fear of the Unknown. Yeah, this is basically all we got right now at the time of this this recording, is this and some half-baked YouTube video. Like board game teaser trailers aren't they're not like the highest echelon of videos, but yeah, so basically this is just more content to Cthulhu Death May Die. I don't know if they're going to do anything different. If they're going to, I would imagine it's just more old ones and more stories, just like season 1 and season 2. But yeah, man, this was taken so long for them to announce that people were like, I guess they're done. Like they're not doing any more. And then during their latest CMON kind of program, they release this. So I'm also really hoping on the Kickstarter that they allow for back stuff to where you can get the big Cthulhu mini and the Unspeakable box.
On that, because I'm on Facebook pages for this game, and some people that got to try some of the new stuff at Essen. The guy at the booth said there's like a 99% chance that you're going to be able to get like the Unspeakable box stuff, the big Cthulhu stuff like that. So
awesome.
Whether, I don't know if he's talking out his ass or not. But,
yeah, he's just some guy.
right. Yeah, I think there's a 99% chance. Yeah. But anyway,
he's just walking by. It's like, what? Who is that? Well, that would be fantastic, because I have not seen scalpers besides like the PS5 and the Xbox be so shitty, and with the Unspeakable box.
I got mine for $100.
Yeah, but how much was it? That was it was probably 20. I have no idea how much it was in the
it's just the Kickstarter exclusives.
I know. It's it's like 80 additional, heroes, and I think one old one. So, but yeah, people were like $300, $400, and I'm like, so what's in it? Oh, 20 more characters? I'm good. There's already 20 in the box. I think I'll be fine. But I'm obviously going to get it here. Very excited. Cthulhu Death May Die is one of the best Cthulhu games to come out in recent years. And yeah, so I'm very excited. More content.
Yeah. And I think the Kickstarter is going to be around Halloween. I think they keep making that hint saying that we're going to take advantage of it being around the spooky season. So yeah. So that would be my guess. and then
Yeah,
there goes all my money.
yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I mean, there's no way they're gonna jack up the price of the Unspeakable, but it's like they sell it as like $300. Like, oh, that's what it goes for. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna definitely jump on it as soon as possible because I don't want to run out of slots for the big mini. Or maybe they
Mhm.
don't. Maybe they won't do that again. I don't know.
I don't know. Hard to say. They didn't with the Galactus.
That's true.
So
That is
they just
true.
charge a shitload of shipping.
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, I'll take pay extra shipping and not have limited copies versus,
Yeah.
oh, I better hope I jump on this before everyone.
Yep.
Well, cool. Yeah, I would imagine this will be higher on your list if you even thought of it. So
We'll see. I'm not gonna say one way or the other.
you're not gonna juke me out by being like,
Right.
oh, I
Yeah, I know.
forgot.
And the Oscar goes to. All right. So my number 19 is another one I hadn't really heard about until I really started researching stuff for next year. And it's from a company that's only put out one other game, and that game
Okay.
Arun was the game. Remember that one that I had that has the stupid app that I was complaining about that talks
Oh
stupid?
yeah. Did you ever play that game?
I played it once,
Okay.
and the app was stupid. Now,
Wait, you mean you didn't like the TikTok female voice doing?
gosh, no,
It didn't immerse you in the world.
right. So this one is a space-based one, and
Okay.
it's a single player / cooperative tower defense game. And it just kind of, the way it sounds just kind of sounds interesting, and that is Spark Riders 3000. Stupid ass name. I mean,
Yeah, the way I have this our pictures on, I don't know why that font looks like Space Jam. Like that's what I immediately just went to. Yeah, okay.
so but like I said, you're gonna see a theme on this list of solo game anticipation, just because that's the way I go a lot of times.
Yeah.
But having a solo tower defense game gives me vibes hearing that of almost like of the Under Falling Skies a little bit, because
Okay.
it's kind of like a tower defense kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Then it also talks about their scenarios. So you're gonna have scenario based, again, Under Falling Skies type stuff. And then I also get a almost kind of like a hybrid feel of Galaxy Trucker in it as well, because
Okay.
the way the thing reads, it says you play as a crew of the Spark and the spaceship equipped with the most advanced AI in the universe. Your mission is to deliver precious cargo to the four corners of the galaxy, but you got to beware because alien pirates and hostile environments await you. So you have to arrive in one piece, so it's
Okay.
kind of like that, and there's going to be different scenarios. And it says the goal is simple: reach the delivery point without having one of your ship's vital rooms destroyed. So to me, it's almost like a hybrid, from the sounds of it, of Galaxy Trucker and Under Falling Skies in a way.
Okay.
Again, we'll see.
Yeah.
there's like no pictures or anything on this, so other than this cover shot. So it's another one of those flip of a coins, but it sounds cool for a solo player aspect,
Yeah, I mean, tower defense in board games, I feel, is always kind of hard because there's so many that are video games. It's like, how do you match the efficiency
Mhm.
of a tower defense video game as a board game? Most, miss the mark, but some, like Under Falling Skies, is, a masterpiece in that genre. So
Well, it doesn't
yeah.
even have a designer credited, so
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if this is going on Kickstarter in 2023.
yeah, I don't know.
So
I don't know. So we'll see. That's why it's this
yeah,
far down the list. When
that's fair.
starting with the next game, everything starts ramping up pretty good.
Good deal. Yeah. Awesome. Well, my number 18 is one of the newest games. It's by Mind Clash Games. This art was actually in the Dice Tower's like best art video that they just did. And I mean, first of all, I think the art is really cool, but I mean, Mind Clash Games, the ones that do Tricarion and Anachrony, and pretty much those two. No one really talks about the Emotion one. This is a 4X game by them, which is not usually done. And 4X games are some that I kind of don't really touch anymore because I have TI, or I have another one that's like, okay, that's enough. But I have faith in Mind Clash, so I think this one could be pretty cool. And it is Voidfall. And yeah, Ian O'Toole just kills it with artwork. I think that this is a super cool cover.
It looks like an evil chili dog coming out of the sky.
Well, you ruined it. It actually kind of does. We'll see. It's a metaphor because when you eat chili dogs, it comes out of your butthole, and that's what the top right is. So it
Yes.
shreds it. But I'm not gonna read out the page of lore that they give. But basically, yeah, 4X games, that brings the genre to Euro enthusiasts. Which I guess is interesting. A space 4X game, that's gonna be more Euro than Ameritrash, so I'm excited to see how that works out. And you play through 3 cycles, each with a game-altering galactic event, a new scoring condition, and a set number of focus cards that can be played. Focus card decisions and sequence is the centerpiece of gameplay. So select 2 of 3 impactful actions as you play them and develop a improved text. So, I mean, the expand, explore, exploit, exterminate concept of a 4X game, I think that Mind Clash really does it right with Euro games. Very intrigued to see how they pull off a 4X game by making it not Ameritrash. And based off the pictures, I mean, it looks really, really cool. The way that the minis and stuff work, it kind of looks like Zaya.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited. I'm hoping, I guess I wasn't really looking too much, but it'd be really cool if they had a way like for shipbuilding as well, or if you play a race. I think you play a race. So similar to TI in the sense that maybe you can get different ships. But yeah, I mean, the art so far looks really cool, and it's Mind Clash. So I haven't played their emotional one, so I don't really know how that stacks up to the other two, but Tricarion and Anachrony are top tier Euro games for me. So yeah, that's Voidfall.
All right. So here's where things start getting good for me.
All right.
This is a game that I've been looking forward to for quite a while because I've played the first 2 games in this series, and I've really enjoyed them. They're roll and write games. And I listen to a podcast that these guys are on all the time. So I've gotten a lot of behind the scenes knowing or learning about this game. First game they did was Fleet the Dice game. Second game was Three Sisters. And this one is Motor City.
Jeez, okay.
These are those very strategic roll and writes. I'm talking like, think about like Hadrian's Wall level. You have multiple sheets.
Okay.
What you're doing on this one is you are in the heyday of Detroit. You know, you work in a car factory. You're doing all these. There's a picture on BGG, you know, that pulls up, and it's like, so you work. It's a car factory. You're building cars using roll and write. You're testing the cars on and you're all this stuff. It's just one of those really in depth.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Kanban.
It does, yeah, from the look of it for sure. I mean, I haven't played Kanban, but I know from just looking at it, it kind of does. But these guys put out some awesome strategic rolling rights though. Like I have Three Sisters. I don't know if have you played Three Sisters yet?
I have not.
I
No.
need to let you either borrow it or we need to play it or something because it's really good. And Fleet the Dice game, you know, you're
That was about
fishing
ships,
boats
right?
and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, you're like fishing liners and stuff, but they're just really, really in depth. It's not like your cartographer level. It's just more like the Hadrian's
Mhm.
Wall, the higher
Yeah,
level.
yeah, you have to
type
have
stuff.
some level of intelligence, unlike cartographer players. Yeah, I get what you're saying. No, cartographers is good.
It is, yes. So so this is one, and these games aren't very expensive, so they're just really good ones, you know, and you get a lot of replayability out of these because it's not just they put a lot of time. Like this game's been in development for a long time. They've been talking about this for a few years.
Wow,
Pretty in depth on that podcast. So they put their time into it, and it's
that's
definitely
pretty
worth the
cool.
money.
Yeah, I would not have thought it. Like looking at this cover, I was like, "Dude, what the fuck is this? This looks like," and maybe that's what they were going for. This looks like a cover of a model. Like you know how you can go to Hobby
Right.
Lobby and like buy a model, and that's what I thought this was. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Which makes sense, I guess,
Like,
because of
man.
it taking place back in the heyday of the Detroit car scene. I mean, that would have been that
Right.
time, the muscle
Yeah, with those
cars,
muscle.
and
Yep.
all that jazz.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I no idea. No idea. I haven't played any of their other games as well.
They're
so
good.
I haven't
They know
played.
how to do it for sure.
Awesome. All right. So my number 17 is technically a standalone expansion, but it is kind of a continuation of the game that came before it. I was just double checking, taking a look at it. This is from a game that I don't really see anyone talk about anymore. This company isn't the greatest in the world, especially with how they run their Kickstarters. But I absolutely love the original game. I think it's one of the best dueling Magic games that has come out in. I mean, it would if I had to do like a top 10 Magic themed games, I would probably put this at the top. I think it's fantastic in its card play. And this is once again kind of a continuation, but it's supposed to be its standalone box. And that is.
Sorry. There you go.
There we go. Black Rose Wars Rebirth. This would be my understanding of Rebirth is that it's probably going to be a more streamlined version, but still have just as much content. If you're not familiar, Black Rose Wars is a dueling Magic game where it's multiplayer on tiles, and there are so many different schools of Magic that all have their own theme around them: destruction, illusion, divinity, transfiguration, so stuff like that. Like, and then they have blood magic and time, and like there's a bunch. And it's a victory point kind of game that you get a certain amount of victory points for completing quests that you get. You get victory points if you defeat a mage and you're the one that dealt the most damage to it, kind of like adrenaline. Although people aren't worth a decreasing amount of points. But you and then you also get points for kind of controlling certain rooms, but certain spells can cause damage to the rooms, and each tile has its own special ability. But if the room gets destroyed, then it goes away. And that's kind of where this one picks off. It says, where is it? 25 years later, after the last war, mages are here in the lodge to reestablish order. Rooms are broken, and now it's time to rebuild them up. Black Rose is still there. And yeah, so players are mages that are trying to become the supreme magister of the Black Rose Guild or Black Rose Lodge. And yeah, but it seems to be kind of the same game. This is going to be more content. So I consider this to be more of an expansion. But if you don't have the original, you can jump in and probably get this, from my understanding. But they're so unique with their schools of Magic. Like, I mean, I'm looking at some of the pictures. They have a nightmare school, and then a totem school, a technomancy school. It's just and it's like you can be a summoner. There's really, like, if you've thought of like Magic, there's probably a school for it. And some of the characters, or all the characters, have a specialization, but you don't have to do that. If you're the destruction guy, yeah, he's going to be more proficient in that and have special abilities for that. But you can be like, you know, I'm going to get this divinity spell just to help me out. It's fantastic because all the cards are dual sided. So there's just so much to this game. It's a heavier Magic dueling game. So I'm very excited for it. I think this game is fantastic, but not a whole lot of people either have it or talk about it anymore. But that's okay because I have it.
Yeah, I didn't go in. I didn't do the first campaign. I went and I bought the core box for the first campaign. I still haven't played it yet, but I went all in on this Kickstarter for Rebirth. So I'll be.
You did?
I'll be getting this as well. I just need to get the game played.
Yeah, I will like I've played this at 3 and 4. I've actually not tried it at 2, and that would be interesting because 3 it actually surprisingly works really well at 3. Works even better at 4 actually. I'd be intrigued to try it at 2, considering it would probably be a little bit more chess like, or maybe like basically 3D Magic the Gathering, because you actually program out cards with how you play. You have like a quick spell that you can do whenever, but then your other ones have to go in a certain order. So it would probably be more chess like. It's like, okay, I need to try and get in their head. What do I think they're going to do? How can I stop them? Because what's great about this game as well is there's also, you have interrupts, or you have, if they do this, and haha, I have a trap card, you know, instead of just, well, I did all my stuff. Okay, let's watch you undo it all. All right, now I undo what you did. Yeah, it's not like that. So, but yeah, Black Rose Wars Rebirth.
All right. So my number 17 is the third game in a series of games from this company as well. The first one you do not like at all. The second one you thought was decent. And then this one,
I know what it is.
We'll see. But this one is Wreckland Run.
Yeah, I almost backed this, but then I just didn't.
Yeah, this one, because the first one was, what was the name of the first one they did?
Proving Grounds.
Proving Grounds, yeah, I knew it started with a P. And then they did...
smelled like P too.
I don't mind it. It just wasn't as good as what, you know.
There's just something about fucking dice that's like, oh man, let me just roll, and okay, I died.
Yeah, and then there was
makes sense. I'm one gladiator being surrounded by 30. It's like I don't think I'm gonna do well.
There was Warp's Edge, which was pretty
that was pretty solid.
Good. This one goes into the post-apocalyptic, the whole Mad Max theme thing, and how this one works is it's kind of like a campaign kind of thing. So there's 7 chapters. Each chapter is going to have 3 rounds in it, and in each round there's 2 phases. There's the wreckage phase, and then there's the run phase. The wreckage phase is you're using certain deals and building up your car, giving it enhancements, stuff like that. And then the run phase is you're going and you're trying to you're being attacked by the bad guys and everything. And as you get through all that stuff, then there's a big boss at the end of the third round that you have to beat. So you're trying to power yourself up, but as you're beating them guys, when you beat them, they just keep going back into their deck. So they get stronger and stronger as each phase or round goes in the free. So when you get to the end, I mean, you need to make sure you're a badass from the sounds of it.
Yeah.
But there's envelopes, so it's, I guess, kind of a legacy. I mean, it's not anything. So like when you do the first, after you beat the first deal, then you'll open up the envelope 2, and that'll show you who your bad guys and all that special cards and all that stuff are, all that jazz.
Same designer as Warp's Edge, Scott Holmes.
Yeah, and he's big on the solo scene too, with the different stuff, and this is a solo only game, obviously. So, this one's gonna be pretty sweet when I get it. I think, because I like the whole post-apocalyptic thing anyway. So this is if they keep increasingly getting better, because Warp's Edge, I really enjoy Warp's Edge with that whole bag building deal and stuff.
Yeah.
And this one goes with a little bit more of there's some dice rolling stuff and there's some card driven stuff. So he messes around with different little mechanics to try to get this stuff.
Yeah, I was looking it up. Proving Grounds is by different designer. And I
Right,
was
yeah.
curious if Scott had done all the solo series, but then nope, looks like they didn't. They're like, oh shit, this one's not as good. Okay, hey, anyone else want to design? Yeah, no, this one did look really solid. So whenever you get yours, I'll have to give it a shot.
Sounds good.
Okay. My number 16, I was actually very surprised was not higher on my list, considering that this designer and publisher is, I mean, I have all of his games, and actually just played the expansion to one of his games not too long ago. This is the newest Vital Lacerda game that looks just so freaking cool. Like, this is finally, he's going into a more fantastical theme, I guess. I mean, it's still kind of grounded in reality, and I'm sure the game is going to be insane in terms of, complexity. But man, I'm just very excited for this, and that is Weather Machine. So Weather Machine is, you are, let's see, where is it? Scientists of Professor Lativ's team tampering with local weather, adjusting rainfall for farms, maintaining wind and clear skies for ecological energy sources, and tweaking the temperature for resorts and sporting events. If that doesn't get you energized and your adrenaline pumping, I don't know what will. But it's just, this is obviously, there hasn't been a Vital designed game that I have disliked. Now, the newest On Mars expansion wasn't the greatest, but On Mars itself is still extremely solid. That whenever, but all those are kind of like Vinhos or Lisboa are all historically grounded, and this one seems a little bit more. I like the theme for this one. I think this is going to be a really cool one that hasn't been touched on. I was looking at the pictures for it, and I was like, yep. That's going to be something else. It reminds me a little bit, just kind of the overall look of the game, of that weird ass Bruno Cathala game with like the animals with the human teeth. Do you remember that game at all? It's the stuff that it's the stuff of nightmares is what that game is. What
It's
is it?
Imaginarium or something like that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's like, it's kind of like steampunky, like, but not like so far where it's just like, edgelord steampunk. It's like, hey, this is probably more realistic steampunk. That's kind of the vibe I get from here. And I just really I'm very curious. I wish this had been played to get it. So far on Board Game Geek, it's showing a 4.18 out of 5 complexity rating. Obviously this game isn't available to get, so I don't know where that's coming from, but based off the pictures I'm seeing and having played all of his games, it looks like it's up there, and the board looks wild. And if you're having to control weather for various events and stuff, that it looks like it's a lot. But I live for these games. These are still super fun and up my alley, and he doesn't go wrong. So yeah, very excited. You haven't played a single one of his games yet, have you?
Nope.
Okay. I will.
I want to. I just need to really sit down and.
He has incremental difficulty. He has easier ones like that range up, so it's not. He does have a stigma of them all being insane, and for the most part they are. Even his lowest one would probably be upper midweight, if I had to guess. So
yeah. All right. Well, my number 16 is a game that I really had not heard anything about until it was actually running on crowdfunding a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And the cover doesn't look like something I would really jump at, but it's a solo only experience. And then when I started hearing some of these designers and stuff, some of their quotes talking about the game, saying that this is the game that I wish Robinson Crusoe was, and it's Halls of Hegra. So
yeah, I remember you kind of saying you were
this is solo only, and the theme of it is you're in an abandoned mountain fortress that you command You're commanding a group of Norwegian volunteers fighting numerically superior German forces in the early days of World War II. But they compare it to like Robinson Crusoe, This War of Mine, and Dead of Winter. I don't know where the Dead of Winter comes in that when looking at that, but
Zombie twist.
I
In the middle
guess.
of the game, the zombies show up.
but
Nazi zombies.
there's worker placement, bag building, and area control tower defense. So all good mechanics, being
Is
solo
this
only.
going on Kickstarter, or
It's already
has it
done.
already? It's already done.
Yeah, it's done. It finished a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
They'll have a late backing though. I mean, I'm sure.
sure.
but yeah, I mean, it looks, the pictures on BGG, when you look at the board, the gameplay pictures, it kind of looks like
It looks like
school,
Robinson Crusoe.
looks like old school war game kind of stuff. And then you start looking at the other deals, and as it's laid out similar, but I like the theme. I like war stuff anyway, and then
You
throwing in the
sick
solo
fuck.
only and having that.
would.
So it's, but it just
This game
kinda
is
caught my eye.
$490.
No,
No, it's KR. I don't even know what KR is.
it's Norwegian money or something
Gotcha.
like that. But it was only like 40 some bucks. Is what I paid for it, something like that. I think.
Yeah, I can late pledge. I might get this. This does look intriguing.
But yeah, it's a good one. I mean, from the sound of it, I obviously haven't played it yet, but
Who's the designer? Okay. Oh my god. Okay, so this is very, very interesting. So he did Doning the Purple, which I never played. That's neither here nor there. One of the games that he's credited towards is a game that I did a prototype for. So he sent me the prototype. This was years ago. So 2016 is when this game is credited. Kill the King.
Okay.
I have a video on my channel called Kill the King. And the reason why this is funny is Kill the King was the first video I believe I did that branched off of me doing separate run-throughs and discussions, because I used to lump them together way before I think before you were even on the channel, or maybe before I even knew you. This was the first video I did where I was like, I'm gonna do a separate discussion. Anyway, I don't even know if that game was made.
Yeah,
but it was like a skirmish style, very cheap, almost God, what's that stupid Stratego is kind of
gotcha.
what that reminds me of. Anyway, I'm sorry, you can keep talking about Halls of Hegra. That just
Well, no, I was done. It's just it just is one of those things, like when you start getting, because I think David Turksey was who made that comment about Robinson Crusoe, and with him being such a solo, he's always making the solo versions of stuff. Him having that big of a praise for it, I was like, okay, I'll dive in for it.
The board, like the board layout really looks like Robinson Crusoe. That's what I'm getting, like almost a prototype version. Yeah, I'm very curious, because this War of Mine to me makes it seem like, well, this should be survival story based then. But
yeah, but see, that quote doesn't make
there's no
any
story.
sense, because the quote says Halls of Hegra is a solo only game in the same vein as Robinson Crusoe, This War of Mine, and Dead of Winter. That's a weird combination, because it's like,
I know,
because Dead of
what I bet?
Dead of Winter didn't have a solo.
I think I think it's what it means is the similar factor of all three of those is it's survival.
Yeah, and that's probably
all it is. But like, people are, I mean, because I was thinking, oh, same vein, so it's taken stuff from those, but no, survive. I mean, it's a tower defense, so onslaught survival in cold,
right.
Same vein, because it's also, this is war, winter, and survival. So that's probably where it's at.
Yeah, but it looks pretty cool. So
those are cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah, awesome. I might actually back this for 490 quatlus. Whatever. I'm still blown away by that Kill the King, because the designer, I was like, oh, that looks familiar. Okay. My number 15 is this is purely on here because of its art. And the mechanisms for it sound really cool, but this cover and this theme are fantastic. And so you can go ahead and move on to it. My number 15 is Unconscious Mind. You're taking two of the most prolific artists in the hobby, Vincent Dutrait and Andrew Bosley. Probably Ian O'Toole would be also just as good. But man, I'm pretty sure Andrew Bosley is Everdell. Yep, that's what I thought. So you have Everdell, the guy who did Everdell. Like you could just see the two differenting art styles. So Vincent Dutrait is the guy on the bottom, and then all the fantastical stuff is Andrew Bosley. But the theme of this is where is it? Vienna in the early 1900s, the Austrian neurologist Sigmund Freud establishes a revolutionary set of theories and therapeutic techniques called psychoanalysis, which are related to the study of the unconscious mind, because Freud was a psychopath. So pretty much this whole game is about you coming to terms with that all males have a sexual attraction to their mother. That's what Freud's pure belief was, and that's what this entire game is. Obviously that's not true, but the Freud stuff about boys to their mom, that is true. That is pure fact. But that's not what this game is. It's a blend of worker placement, engine building, multi-use cards, action programming. That all sounds fantastic. And this is a really, really cool theme with what looks to be amazing art. So I'm really hoping that comes through. Looking at some of the cards, they all do kind of look weird because it's about the unconscious mind. So I would imagine it to be those kind of Dixit style, just like, what the hell is this supposed to be? But don't know how much that's actually gonna come through or matter in the actual game. But yeah, that's really the only reason why this is up here. I don't know any of these designers. There's 4 of them: Laskas, Johnny Pack, Yoma, and Antonio Zax.
Johnny Pack you've played because he's did Coloma.
Oh, okay.
And he did
Merchant's Cove.
Merchant's Cove, yeah. So I mean, you've played some of his stuff.
I have. Sierra West is on here as well. Haven't tried that yet.
I have that. I just haven't ever played it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I remember you saying you picked it up. So yeah, I mean, that's really is why this is as high as it is theme and art, and all those mechanisms just sound fantastic. Especially the multi-use cards. That's one of my favorites. So yeah, Unconscious Mind, my number 15.
All right. So in scouring games coming out in 2023, I came across this one, and after reading more about it, it really, really intrigued me because I hadn't heard anything about it up until this deal.
Okay.
It's a solo or cooperative horror fantasy game. And it takes place in Celtic mythology and Irish legend.
Ooh.
And it's kind of like it's a narrative-based progression campaign with scenarios. You can do one-shots or you can play through a whole campaign. And that is The Thinning Veil. It just kind of the name of it was cool. So then I started looking into it more, and it actually sounds pretty damn cool. It's a roguelike system. So there's like puzzle solving, objectives, narrative-based scenarios. There's just there's all kinds of stuff, and then all that stuff comes together, and it's like, and it's got Celtic mythology, and I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, this could be worth a pretty good shot. And I don't know if it's going to Kickstarter. I don't know anything about like.
It's supposed to come out on Kickstarter this fall.
Okay, so soon then. But and the publisher has not. It's a UK-based deal, but they haven't done anything. So this will be their first one, which is kind of.
So fun fact, because you were talking about how there's no info. There's one forum on this game. Someone was like, "Hey, this says it's going to come to Kickstarter in the fall, but there's no gameplay here on BGG." The designer, Paul Rose, responded, said, because there's a lot of stuff on their Facebook page.
Mhm.
And he's like, I've not used BGG much and was just directed here by a friend. So that's probably why there's nothing on
I
here. is
see
'cause
that now. Yep.
Yep. So the one forum, and it's like I'm not reading the whole thing, but yeah.
It looks like there's 60 miniatures in the core game.
Yeah, this looks cool.
Yeah, this is definitely one I'll probably really look into pretty hardcore, just because there isn't a whole lot of that Celtic stuff, like I didn't
Yeah.
really like Inish a whole lot, mainly because of the gameplay. But this one having that, from what it sounds like, having the
Mhm.
narrative based stuff and all that, it just looks like it could be pretty cool, since it's the horror. It takes that, like I said, it was the horror, a horror fantasy inspired version. So it might be pretty sweet,
Yeah. Yeah. I will have to keep an eye out on this one. The roguelike system is what intrigues me.
Mhm.
Because again, that's a video game thing. And it
Right.
works extremely well in video games because it's so quick to restart. But
Well, and the other cool
Huh.
thing that it says on here is that, I mean, you can choose whether you want to be good or bad, like as the
Oh.
gameplay goes. Because the second paragraph, it says, once you've selected a hero, your journey begins.
Oh,
Will you
yeah.
be valorous and pure, or villainous and corrupt? And you kind of, so it looks like you can kind of have a little bit of freedom to go down different ways too. So it just seemed
Okay.
like a pretty intriguing one,
Yeah. Yeah. Good deal. Yeah. I'll have to keep an eye out. That's two you got me hooked on. Okay. All right. My number 14 is yet another expansion, and I was very, very happy to hear that they were doing another one. Again, I hope they continue to do more, because this is a game that, like, just I beg for just support, because it's just such an awesome construction, really. You can go ahead and go, because it's Return to Dark Tower, the Covenant expansion. Return to Dark Tower is I think one of the better games that has come out cooperatively in quite some time. I think that tower is so cool. Like, it's one of the, that's why I said greatest constructions, because it's just so awesomely designed. I haven't had any issues with it, like, at all since playing. Have not tried the first expansion for this. I need to, because I've heard it makes the game actually significantly more difficult with the guilds and stuff. And yeah, so Return to Dark Tower Covenant adds 4 new heroes, which is also awesome, because I'm kind of like, this needs a little bit more heroes. And so 4 new heroes is what, 8 monuments, and I don't know. 12 new harder corruptions to modulate game difficulty. Yeah, I would imagine, because I've
We
never
need more
lost.
difficulty. We need more difficulty.
I think this game is relatively easy, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, because of just the nature of it, like, certain characters are really good at one thing. Like, the first guy, like, or one of the guys who can have soldiers, I haven't played a game with him where he didn't have basically every soldier token. Far be it from just happening to be a card like you top deck and that's how you lose. Like, I haven't really been able to lose to the game being difficult. Now, granted, I also haven't tried it on the higher difficulty,
Right.
but just standard game, fully cooperative, I feel like you should always be challenged, and then adding a higher difficulty is where you just really want to be punished. But yeah, so it looks like it adds 8 monuments, 14 doom skulls, 32 wasteland tokens, which negate terrain effects and prevent heroes from leaving their space for the rest of the turn. New treasures. So adds new stuff, but then also just adds more to the original game. So yeah, it doesn't look like it's adding any new what were they called? Nemesis, I guess. Maybe not. That's not what they're called. But the enemies, like
Right.
doesn't look like it's adding any more of that. But the cool thing of this game is that, kind of like what we were talking about with Mansions of Madness, you can just pump that into the app,
Hmm.
and then you just use what you already have. But yeah, this doesn't look like it adds any more monsters either. So, which I guess could be cool, because at least with all the stuff that's coming from this, looks like it'll fit in the base box. You don't have to do anything else.
Right.
So yeah, Return to Dark Tower, very, very awesome. I mean, if I were to guess, this seems like it's kind of like what an analogy I'd use is like, oh, how Arkham Horror LCG does like the campaign box and the investigator box. This one almost kind of seems like it's like, hey, here's the hero box, and then they might do another one with more.
You would think
Yeah.
with as much
So-
money as they rake in with these and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yep. So if you like Return to Dark Tower, I'd definitely take a look at this, because I certainly do. This game is it's always just succeeded every single time I've played with new people.
Yeah.
So,
I like it a lot myself. All right, so my number 14 is going to be on here. It's not really a cheat. It is it's a reprint plus an expansion. So what happened is when this game first came out, it was from another company, and then a company that I really started taking notice in bought the rights to the game, put their component quality into it. I did a Kickstarter for the reprint plus the expansion, and that is Dungeons of Infinity.
oh, okay.
And then the Kingdom Cost expansions. This was all one Kickstarter. The company that actually did the Sky Kingdom games, the ones that did Icefarian Guard, they're the ones that purchased this
Oh, okay.
game, and then they put this Kickstarter out, so it's going to have all this top notch. I mean, because they do really high quality components and stuff as well. Not chip theory games level, but high quality.
High quality normal components.
Right.
Yeah.
But so it's pretty much a randomized dungeon. You play a campaign, or you can do just one shots with it, and you are all these different events will pop up as you're exploring the dungeons. There's just a lot of stuff going on. No game's ever going to be the same because the dungeons lay out differently. It comes with a ton, like 300-400 equipment cards alone. So it's like there's just tons of equipment that you can get to put on your heroes.
Mhm.
The Kingdom Cost just adds more heroes and more stuff like that. But there's scenarios in it. It's Foreteller based. Foreteller is going to be
Oh,
has
okay.
already been made for it to do the stuff with it as well. And it's just one of those games that
That's
just
right.
looks like the character creation looks really cool. If you look at a picture, because they have the game trays, so it's like a game
Mhm.
trays thing, and your character cards in there. You have your cubes and your all that stuff. It's just a really cool deal. And I have played the original,
Yeah.
and I could see where the gameplay is good, but then just looking at the pictures of this and following the campaign and just seeing all the improvements they've made just makes this going to be that much. It's just going to be that much more of a home run, I think.
Okay.
And then Foreteller, I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a good thing. And so yeah, Dungeons of Infinity, it should be it's one of those. There's still it'll probably be early 23, but it's gonna be a good one for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know much about this one. I think I remember this being, I thought it was competitive, but it looks like it can be played both co-op and comp. So, okay. Well, cool. Yeah, I'll have to give this a shot of 400 cards, 400 equipment cards. That's insane.
Yeah, because they on all their updates for their Kickstarter and stuff, it's just like they highlight them, and there's just so many different kinds of shit you can get for your game.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Which is always neat. So it's kind of more like a looter style
Right.
dungeon crawl. Okay, awesome. All right, my number 13 is a game that I actually happened to see a couple of years ago at Gen Con, and I was like, oh man, what is this about? And mainly because of the art and kind of just the overall aesthetic of the game. and it's a co-op adventure game set in a magical land is kind of what it says. And there's like on Board Game Geek, there's like a bunch of lore, and I don't feel like reading it all. But again, campaign, cooperative game, storytelling, I'm all for it. And so this, my number 13 is Artisans of the Splendid Vale. So
Weird cover.
it's very, this is a very bright, colorful cover. It almost kind of gives off Studio Ghibli art, and I'm guessing it's a world that's been created. But the one thing that kind of sold me on this one, and I was kind of looking through the pictures for it, besides the fact that you get items, and it's kind of your typical, what a lot of these games are doing now is your spiral bound book of scenarios that you go through, kind of like what Comanauts does, what Familiar Tales does, all those kind of games. That's what this one does as well. But the most interesting part, and this is why I actually ended up backing it, was every single character has their own like novel for their own story. So whenever you're interacting with stuff as a certain character, you'll have a different thing in your book than someone else will. And based off the pictures, the books are pretty thick. Like they're a decent size like novel for interactions. And I'm a sucker for storytelling, interacting, stuff like that, where it's like, because there's the 4 characters. I don't think 3 of, no, they're all there. Okay, there are the 4 characters on the front. I mean, each of them has a book that's like about that thick. So I think that that's cool if you went to go talk to, some magical tree creature, that you would be able to do something a little bit different if you're more specialized in a certain skill than someone else. Not really sure on how the gameplay works. All of it just says adventure game set in a magical and unique land, troop of artisans. You will explore the beauty of the Splendid Vale while honing your individual crafts. Overcome challenges during tactical action scenes played out on specialized grid maps. Yep, that's really all I got. Obviously, I can go on the Kickstarter page and look through that, but I'm not gonna. This is just kind of a very cute world that I think could be a lot of fun to be in. It looks very peaceful as well, with obviously monsters you have to fight. There's a few pictures of enemies you most likely will have to overcome, but
it's interesting that Nikki Valens, the designer, she was a Fantasy Flight person for a long time. She had her hands in the new Mansions of Madness, Eldritch Horror, Arkham Horror, stuff like that.
So definitely seems like she knows how to do theme and storytelling. So yeah, I have high hopes for this. I think this is going to be a slam dunk.
The gameplay would have to, because I don't like the cover at all. Like it steers me away from it. So like I would have to, the gameplay would have to pull me in,
Sure. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't, the cover seems to be a little bit different than what the overall like scenarios look like. But this looks like, funny enough, the overall box itself kind of looks like the same shape and size as the Descent Legends of the Dark box.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's about the size of it. And it has like its own thing where you put all the books in. And like I said, those are pretty big books, but the art of the cards kind of looks like Flamecraft. If you've seen any art for Flamecraft, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. And that's the overall vibe I get. And it's just a nice change of pace from going to this from your typical gritty fantasy.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But that's my number 13.
All right. My number 13 is the most grandiose game on this list.
Ooh, okay.
It's the most expensive Kickstarter I've ever backed. And yeah, it's gonna be more than I'll ever touch for it, but I kind of had to have it all when it was announced. It's the biggest Kickstarter board game of all time. Well, was not quite. Is Frosthaven still the best?
Yeah.
This was up there. But yeah, Marvel Zombies. I used to be really big in the zombie side stuff. Everything up to Black Plague I had, and then I got kind of burnt out on it, so I got rid of it. I've never played Black Plague, never played Green Horde, never didn't back any of the other Western, all those crazy ones.
This
But
made
then-
9 million.
Okay, so when they decided to throw in the whole Marvel Zombies IP on there, it was like, oh yeah, big time. And
Well, I feel like I remember you and I were both like, who gives a fuck? And then we just kept getting updates. And I'm like,
right, it
that's
looked
a
good.
lot of stuff.
And it looked good. I watched gameplay videos. I'm like, this doesn't feel like a zombie side game in a lot of ways. It's
Yeah.
because you're pretty much the base game, the game that you would normally buy. You're going to be playing the zombie versions of these superheroes, and you're killing the humans, and you're fighting the actual untainted superheroes. There's so much other boxes that have come out, and then there's a box that you can be where you're actually get to play as the heroes taking on the zombies and stuff. And then if you're a moron like me and you go in for the Devourer pledge and get the huge Galactus, that you can make him a zombie Galactus or regular Galactus. And
Yeah.
there's just so much crap with this. Just looking at the Kickstarter page, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 regular boxes of stuff. You got the huge Galactus, and then there's going to be the exclusives box, and stretch gold boxes. It's just there's
What was it? 500?
615 plus tax or plus shipping. So a lot of people are having to pay like 750, 780, stuff like that
a
for
lot
it.
of people who don't have connections.
Well, because did you go through Meta?
Yeah.
Okay, because they still haven't told me like what the shipping
Yeah.
is going to be on it.
Take your
but-
time. I don't feel like dropping 600 right now.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, this one I'm very excited for because I actually like the Marvel Zombies storyline.
I'm gonna
And
have to
then-
have Kat be I'm gonna have to put her in a sweatshop and just be like, get the painting.
paint.
Now
But yeah,
there's
and
like
then,
3,000 minis. Well, look, I'm not seeing you paint.
yeah, exactly. More. You're doing a lot of this, and not a lot of this.
Not a lot of, yeah.
But
You want to
but
eat, right? Jesus
but yeah,
Christ.
so the Galactus will be cool, and then if they do happen to get the big Cthulhu again for that one, then I'll have both of those up there and
Yeah.
stuff. But
And they can
this
battle.
one's just, I could not. $615 sounds like a metric ton of money for a game,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I dropped 5 for Freedom 5.
yeah, me too. Yeah,
So
but there's this. I think there's so much plastic in this. It's like
Yeah.
it's so crazy.
yeah.
But yeah.
So
Anyway,
I wish they would have. I hate the fact that a zombie side game is on there. It's like, just take that off. Who cares?
yeah.
But yeah, it's because don't they have the zombie version and the hero version for all the characters? Or did they end up not
Most of
getting
them.
most of them?
Yeah, there was, because there's a bit of a thing going on right now because you can go on Amazon right now and buy the
The core game, right?
well, it's the version of the game where you're the actual superheroes and cooperatively.
Okay.
on-
I thought
but
I
it's
was
a-
seeing this.
but it's
like,
all cardboard standees,
Yeah.
the zombies and everything, and you get it for like $35. Everybody's like, why are they doing that? It's like they're getting cardboard standees and it's like super like a white-outed version of the game. It's just something
yeah.
out there.
I thought I was seeing this cover and I'm like, there's no way this is delivering.
No, this
So
it's just a quick way of getting it out to people on because Chad bought a copy of it and it's all just like standees and stuff.
I see.
And I'm just like, nah, I'll just hold off and get my super fancy box. It's gonna have more minis than I'll know what to do with. And
Yep. With 0 storage solution.
yep, pretty much. We'll just
well.
maybe I think we could just stack them all around Galactus. And he can.
Yeah, just take all the minis out. Yeah, I mean, if I ever did get all of these painted, then I would probably get another display case like I have for my Street Fighters. That would be
Yeah.
worth it. Putting Galactus on top,
Yep.
and all of the other ones down. Yeah,
I
very
wouldn't mind.
excited. This actually is not. This is not on my list. I will. It'll be in. It'll very much be talked about a little bit in the
Yeah.
additional 2023 games. But yeah, this one didn't make it. I thought it would have though, but
Yeah,
there's just
I'd like my big Galactus to be painted though, and my Cthulhu if I ever get it and stuff. Those would be two that would be neat to get painted.
you can commission it. It'll
Yeah.
be more than this entire game combined to commission to get that painted, but
I
it
know.
would look fucking dope.
All
All right. My number 12 might be higher on your list. I'm actually very surprised that this is not out yet. I would have expected just kind of with the content of it would have been pretty much a slam dunk to come out at least in 2022. But as far as I know, I don't think they're even wrapping up production yet. And it's a campaign cooperative expansion to a 1v1 game that is phenomenal that Brad and I will eventually be doing a tournament for, and that is Sorcerer Endbringer. So Endbringer is basically, yeah, it's kind of what Dice Throne had for Dice Throne Adventures, where now you can play Sorcerer as, I guess, solo or cooperative to go against, I can't remember how many overall enemies or bosses there are.
We
in
choose
this game.
one per thing, but in the game there's 4, I want to say.
I thought it was 4, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right, but
Yeah. So I haven't looked too much into this. Like what I do with almost every single Kickstarter is if a run through comes out, I'll check out the run through and then just kind of look at price and then back it, because I don't like to read too much into it, because then I feel like I know everything by the time it comes out and I'm like, oh, okay. So I like to be surprised with how the game plays. I think that, I mean, because this comes out with more sorcerers, lineage and domains. So just more of that is already awesome, because that can be incorporated into the regular 1v1, but everything can also be used into this cooperative campaign. I would imagine that, I think what they're working on is probably balancing, making all the cards flow and work and actually make the game hard. Because if you're going to do 4 bosses, they better be pretty difficult if you're going to have that limited number. Which there's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to do 4, I mean, I hope to lose almost every single time I play against them, and then have to play extremely well to beat them to make the 4 worth it.
This game single-handedly was the reason they changed their Kickstarter structure, though, because they made that announcement. It's been a year or so, 2 ago maybe, where they said that they weren't going to put anything on Kickstarter until they were like, 75% done making their stuff, because this one I think they put on Kickstarter and they hadn't really gotten that far into development.
Yeah,
and that's what ends, because they hate that. From what I get from hearing for their interviews and talking with them and stuff, that they hate that it's taken so long, because I mean the Kickstarter ended a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and it's still not at that point, but
right. Sorcerer Endbringer, when did this come on Kickstarter? It was,
I would say 19 or 20.
I think it's 2019.
I bet it's maybe I think 20. That would be my guess, because it wasn't out when I did Origins 2019.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, sorry, I was still thinking it was 2021. Yeah, 20. Yeah, I think it was 2020. I can't find it, but that's okay. So yeah, I mean, more content though for Sorcerer is going to be awesome.
Plus Seth is in.
He's the best character. I mean, he's he's like a Western. He uses soul bullets. That's fucking cool. That's super cool. In fact, so they have, from the quick picture I'm looking at, so they have 4 new sorcerers. 1, 2, it looks like 2 new lineage, and then 4 more domains.
Which that actually is good because there was a less number of domains.
Yes, and
So that-
lineage.
Right, so I
I
mean,
wonder
that
if this
kinda-
rounds it out. No, I think there's still gonna be more characters.
right, but there'll be a little bit, at least they
Yeah.
are evening out the domains a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
can't,
For sure.
yeah, I was trying to see if how many heroes, if it actually, not heroes, how many bosses, if they say, but I don't want to look too much. Anyway, that's my number 12, Sorcerer Endbringer.
All right. Well, my number 12 is the fourth game or product to come out in this line. You and I have played the original. You didn't care for it a whole lot. I like it, and I've played it a lot. I've played it a lot more since we played, and I keep liking it more and more. This new iteration, well, actually, the third one turned it to where you can play it solo, and cooperative. This new one turns everything on its head a little bit, and that is Undaunted Battle of Britain. This is,
I like the tutorial the best.
this is dogfighting, aerial combat version of Undaunted. So the Battle of Britain was all air battle. So now this
That's
one
cool.
is going to be all dogfighting. Like you're going to be dodging anti-aircraft weaponry on the ground, and you're going to be using your pilots, your talented aces, to try to outmaneuver the other people and stuff. So I'm curious how that's going to work with the card play. Like if you're being chased by a plane, how are you going to get behind it? Like, like I don't know how that mechanic's going to work, but I have
Probably poorly.
Well, I have full confidence in these two designers because these guys
Yeah.
know what they're doing, and I'm just like, you're using deck building and you're trying to figure out how to do like the physics of flying, like the mechanic, and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm curious how that's all going to work out. But I've really enjoyed all their other stuff. So this one is kind of a no-brainer, and I think it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, just yeah, this game does nothing for me, but I did figure out, because it's a skirmish game.
Mhm.
I did figure out, because I've played a lot of skirmish games like lately, and I was finally able to pinpoint why some work for me and some don't. And it comes down to just the randomness, and
Right.
how I like randomness now is I like pre-random, if that makes any sense. So like War of the Ring, for example, when you roll dice and that determines what actions you can take, that I can do. What I don't like is planning a strategy and having randomness determine the factor.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
makes
kind of
sense.
what this was like. So it was more of just, I don't mind the deck building of like which units I can activate, but I hated the fact that you also had to roll dice to hit. It's like, at least, I mean, if I'm going to be random on who I can activate, make sure at least I should be able to hit. But yeah, I mean, thematically, that sounds super cool. Dogfighting is pretty neat. So,
Yeah. Yep. I'm ready for this one for sure.
did you ever get like all the other expansions for this?
I have everything. I have the
Okay.
reinforcements. The third one turns it into a
Mhm.
cooperative solo experience
Oh, okay.
and everything.
Neat.
So it's really cool too. So
Awesome. Okay. Now we're into the top 10. Well, not top 10. Honorable mention into the top 10. And this is where it just almost kicks off of into just pure campaign. Like almost every single one of these are just narrative campaign games that I'm just not gonna have time to play. But that's okay. I'll get to them eventually. My number 11 is one of the ones that I know the least about, but again, I really like the idea of this. I think going over the peaceful nature, this seems just like a very pleasant world to live in. The designer of this, not the designer, sorry. Yes, no, actually the designer and the publisher is from basically one of the coolest games I've played that's basically Gloomhaven in space. And I didn't know that they actually did this one as well. So my number 11 is Mythwind.
Interesting.
I sound like I had a list. Mythwind. All it says on here is persistent world, asymmetrical, and cooperative board game where you become a pioneer in a whimsical fantasy world. Now here's the interesting part. It's a true open-ended game set up in under 5 minutes. And when you want to finish your gameplay session, pack it up without losing any of your progression. The game will live and grow as you spend more time progressing in your role and building the town. Those 2 sentences, that's a lot to live up to because so many games that come out, it's like, oh, just pack it up whenever and then set it up just like that. It's like, and then it's not anything like that. Like Seventh Continent says that, and it's like, nah. Although Seventh Continent has a pretty decent save system. But yeah, like 100%, it says rolls are 100% asymmetrical. It is action selection, deck building, or worker placement. So some characters will be doing deck building, others will be doing worker placement, but it's a narrative cooperative board game. Not a whole lot else to go off of. I think this cover is absolutely beautiful. So I'm very excited to see how this works. Maybe it's not narrative driven. It doesn't actually seem like, I would imagine, but maybe it is. Maybe it's actually just I don't know. I really have no idea. But the designer, Brendan McCaskill, and the publisher, they did Stars of Ikarios. And that one I think is actually really, really good. And that's about to go back on Kickstarter as well for a reprint and an update, which it needs. He probably rushed it out a little further, a little quicker than he needed to, but so far it's still pretty solid. So yeah, I mean, Mythwind looks pretty nice.
All right. Well, my number 11 is a game I'm highly, highly anticipating because I love the first 2 boxes that this game came out with. And this one is a very aggressive release, I think, because the first two boxes didn't have the amount of content that this one does. And that is Imperium Horizons.
I don't know. Does this have more content?
This one is adding 14 new civilizations.
I did not know it was adding that much.
Yes.
This game, playing it solo, like I don't know if I told you, but whenever I played it solo the first time, I immediately wanted to play it again and did.
Yeah. Yep. This adds 14 new in this box. 14 new civilizations, all of which you can play solo with, obviously, just like the other ones. There is a new mechanic that it throws in. It's a trade module. I don't know exactly what that does. It says that there's a new trade module that allows players to recreate all the intrigue, wealth generation, and dynamic politics of a thriving economy. I'm sure it's just some card deal, but probably just something that some of these civilizations have, or whatever. But I mean, it looks like it's going to range quite a. I mean, it's going to have to 14 civilizations because it looks like there's like Aztecs and you're going to the Asian stuff. And it looks like Inuits, South America. There's just a lot of craziness here. And
the Persian on the right.
Yeah. So I'm just like, 14. Just like Jesus Christ.
That would make it what? There's 8 in each box in the Legends and Classics.
16,
30.
30 civilizations and all the solo craziness. It's like, this one I'm very excited about. I'm surprised it didn't actually go up higher, but I have a lot of really good stuff.
This one is also not on my list, but it was considered for, so it'll be talked about in the other one. Yeah, no, I didn't know it added that much. That's insane. I didn't
realize either until I put it on this list because I just thought it was just going to be another 8 civilization type thing. And I was like, 14 radically asymmetric civilizations. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, that solo system. I mean, it's so clean. It's just like, oh, okay, what's it doing? Okay, this is what it drew. So, it's doing that symbol. Okay.
Good old David Turksey. He knows what he's doing.
Yep. He certainly does. Yeah, I'm eventually I'm just gonna upload run throughs of each individual civilization, and then you and I could probably do like a ranking
Oh
of
yeah, yeah. I've played all the ones in the other 2 boxes a few times.
Okay.
So yeah.
I have not. I've played I have personally played what I do. Did I do Romans when you and I played together?
We did the Romans and the Greeks.
Romans and
That's what
Greeks,
we
and
went
I was
back
like,
and
man, I thought these were asymmetrical, but it's like, well, they're not too far off.
forth. Right.
So I can't remember which one I played. I think it was Romans, and then I've played the Arthurians and the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Arthurians are weird.
Yep.
They're good, but I was like, I don't know if I'm doing well.
Yeah.
And I lost. So yeah, good deal. Very excited for this one as well.
Yes.
All right. My number 10. Now we are in the top 10. And this one took me by surprise. I happened to actually see a run through get uploaded by Rado. And I was like, yeah, I'll check this out. And so I was watching it. I'm like, man, this does not seem like a game that's up his alley, but he's really liking it. And this production quality looks super sweet. And this gameplay looks awesome because the publisher is from a company that doesn't make games. They make inserts.
Oh,
And
okay.
so my number 10 is Forsaken. So I cannot remember who these designers are because I know they came, I feel like Great Western Trail, that's who these guys were. At least I thought that's what they were, but I feel like that's what Rado said, but I could just be misremembering. Anyway, so this is like a sandbox style competitive game where, what does it say? Looking to leave their mark in the harshest of worlds. Every character has a personalized branching story with every path uniquely tailored to the choices you make along the way. This does really feel like that based off the run through that I saw of just your character is completely different. They have their story on why they're on this planet. They have their differentiating gameplay, own personalized quests. Whenever you go to interact with certain stuff, it has a storybook to it. The theme of this, I think this is an awesome theme. What is it? It's like sci-fi western. Space, I mean, it's not, I guess space western is what that would be, what that would be called. But so many different items. I mean, with it being game trays, it just looks sexy as hell in terms of how it's going to be laid out on the board. It does something similar. I really enjoyed seeing the combat system. If you've played Dead Reckoning, it's kind of like that with a cube tower and how the cubes fall out. It will it could be multipliers, it could be hits and then blocks and stuff like that. I think that that's cool. There's not a whole lot sandbox competitive games that I think work well. Like sometimes they just try to go semi co-op, but this one truly feels like that you're interacting with the world and the world feels alive. And I don't even remember how you win, but yeah, this seems like it has a lot going on. I'm very excited. This one just looks different than the rest that I've seen. And yeah, I'm intrigued because I'm not the biggest fan of, did I say Great Western Trail earlier?
Yeah.
I meant Western Legends.
Oh, okay.
I was about to say I'm not the biggest fan of Great Western Trail. That's not true. That game is phenomenal. Western Legends is what these designers are from, if I'm remembering correctly. But yes, I'm not the biggest fan of Western Legends. Anyway, now that I've corrected myself on that, yes, this is my number 10, Forsaken.
All right. Well, my number 10 is a game that I don't think is going to get it's on this list. I don't think it's going to be really lucky if it lands in 23. I don't know what how much pre-production this company has down on it. Okay. The Kickstarter is going to happen in early 23. So, okay. I mean, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
It's a highly anticipated game by one of my favorite board gaming companies. And that is the Elder Scrolls. by Chip Theory Games.
Their turnaround is pretty good.
Right. That's why I kind of put it on there, because if the Kickstarter's like in January, February, there's a chance it could be the end of the year, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I put it on here. There's
This
not a
is-
ton of information about it right now, other than I know that you are they use the a lot of the Too Many Bones, like battle type stuff is going to be they take inspiration from the Too Many Bones, like, you know, conflict stuff for this. But you're traveling around Tamriel, you know, doing all this stuff. You have a character that you go through. One of the
It's
things
also not Skyrim. Thank
Right,
God.
right. One of the things I've heard is that they're very generous in this game with giving out experience points, so you get to actually level up fairly quickly, like and change your character up and all that stuff as well. So so it says yeah, you're doing an epic journey balancing exploration, character building, and dungeon diving and close quarters combat. The close quarters combat's what they're talking about with the Too Many Bones stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, I mean, this has got the IP. This is going to have a lot of people juiced up, ready to spend their money. And then when you throw Chip Theory Games, I can only imagine what all this stuff's going to look like, you know, with all their art and their stuff.
I have a suspicion this is not going to do as well as we would initially think. I'm very curious if the Elder Scrolls is still an IP that people get excited about.
I think there's gonna be a lot of people back it just because it's Chip Theory Games, though. I think they've gotten popular enough, just like Burn Cycle. I think they're gonna make their money.
Well, I mean, think about it. Burn Cycle. They weren't even really going to do content because they weren't sure how well it was going to do.
Right. But it wasn't an IP, or like, you know, this is an IP that's going to have some. That's going to draw. You know,
Bethesda has just become kind of one of those gaming companies that everyone's like trepidatious now. Because back in the day, it was like, oh yeah, what are they making? And then it's just instant pre-order, and now it's like, oh, Skyrim again, you know. And even their new game that's going to be coming out next year, Starfield, which I'm excited for, but it's coming to Game Pass, and now that's free. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously they're going to make their money, but I don't know. I'm feeling it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be like a 10 mil. I don't think it's going to be a 10 mil.
No. Well, I'm not. I mean, this is probably going to be. I'd say it would max at probably 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna check it out because I like the fact that it's in a era of Elder Scrolls that is not really touched on.
Right.
So they have more freedom than doing Skyrim again. So no, I'll definitely check it out. This has me more intrigued than the actual Skyrim game that I think Steamforge is doing.
Oh yeah, me too. I didn't even touch that just because.
Yeah, and then whenever they saw Elden Ring, I was like, they're gonna fuck it up.
Yeah.
Like, so.
I'm just excited to see pictures of what this looks like. I want to see what the map, the world map, and your skirmish boards. I just want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, because you gotta do that open world, right? And I mean, to be fair, I mean, if they're following Too Many Bones, at least in terms of combat, that's fine. But obviously, none of their games are open world.
Right.
Like they haven't done anything that warrants like a exploration, like Sleeping Gods or something.
Right.
So, yeah, it'll be exciting to see.
Okay.
All right. So my number 9 is yet again another. God, do I have 1, 2, 3? Okay, yeah. Basically, I think only one game in this entire top 10 is not narrative in some way. So buckle up. My number 9 is a game that's actually by Mighty Boards as the publisher, and they're a hit and miss company for me. I feel like they do a lot of things kind of right, but their execution isn't always as solid as I feel it should be. We actually just played the game by them, Post-Human Saga, that was by them, and I was like, yeah, this is really good. Why is it 3 hours? You know, but this is actually once again a narrative driven, a mythical. Go ahead and go to the next one. So it's called Fate Forge, The Chronicles of Khan. Let's see. Mythical action adventure cooperative campaign full of surprising twists with a sprawling story. So this is also app driven from my understanding, from what I have seen. Yeah. App driven game immerses you into a rich and involved fantasy RPG world without the need for a game master, yada, yada, yada. So it was actually pretty cool. So watching kind of the gameplay, it utilizes dice. So dice are kind of like what I was talking about, how like you roll those and the results that you get are kind of the actions that you can now take. But it was really cool. The characters seem different than what I've seen before. Like there's a shaman that you can play as. I don't really see those kinds of classes a whole lot. And from what, this was another one that Rado actually did. So hopefully they pay him well, because so far he's been hooking me on these campaign games. But yeah, that how well you do in certain scenarios will be like, oh, you lost. Okay, well, let's keep going. And that'll dictate future. I think that more games need to do that, because I hate redoing in board games. I just hate redoing scenarios. Like, I don't mind losing cooperative games, but when it's a campaign, it's like, okay, nothing changes. We're just gonna do this again. So let's do the fucking Wayne's World. Oh, hey, we're here. Like, okay, I didn't die. It's just, it's just, if I want to lose, or if I lose, make that be a consequence. Okay, yeah, I lost. I was trying to get information. The guy escaped. Now there's a new branch I have to go down. And that seems to be what this one does. So I'm very intrigued by that. I think the gameplay is going to be really cool with the cooperative nature of helping each other out by using these dice. So yeah, and the app looked pretty solid, even in a prototype, like pre-production beta version that Rado had. It looked already pretty solid. So yeah, that is my number 9, Fate Forge.
Alrighty. Well, my number 9 is one we'd already talked about.
Okay.
So I won't haul around on it that much more. And that is Sorcerer Endbringer. Are all the things you said. I mean, I love Sorcerer. What could make it better? Give it a solo cooperative thing. You've got me hooked more. I'll play it hardly because of the competitive nature.
Yeah.
So this will let me get to play it more, and adds just more stuff, more possibilities, more combinations. I'm in for it.
They didn't do a big storage box, did they? Like, does this box hold everything, or is this?
Did they say? My gosh, it's been so long since the campaign went. I almost want to say this box holds everything.
I hope so.
I think I
oh
don't.
God, let's remember back.
I know. I want to say there's a possibility. I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly because it's been a few years. So
yeah. I mean, and then because actually, what is there? So they say their latest production update that came out a week ago is stating estimate to deliver to backers in spring of 2023.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So anyway, that's my number 9. There really isn't much more to say about it.
All right. My number 8, which I probably should have made this an honorable mention as well. I don't know if this is going to quite hit in 2022. I actually, at least with Madara, you can go ahead. My number 8 is, I was thinking this was a different game. Never mind. I was thinking Frosthaven.
Oh.
Never mind. Because I was like, I did that. You know, it's so funny. I did that when I was making this list. I'm like, Frostpunk is in 8, huh? I expect that to be higher. Never mind. This will definitely be coming out in 2023. This is based off the video game that is about a winter apocalypse survival, kind of like this War of Mine, where you just kind of make decisions and then just try and make everyone survive. This one has like a central tower where like that's your source of heat, and then you have to put a bunch of wood or coal into it to keep it going so it could branch out and thaw out the little ravine they are in to then get more materials. It is rough. So it's 11-bit Studios, which is the same video game company that did this War of Mine. Adam Kopinski is the designer, is also the designer for this War of Mine. Let me double check that. I could just be totally lying to you because I also thought this was fucking Frosthaven. I still don't know if Frosthaven is going to make it in 2022 either, but that one is a little bit more realistic.
I don't think it is.
It's on the boats, I know that much, so they got a couple months. So yeah, Adam Kopinski. Did he not do? Who did this War of Mine? That one was a little early on in Awakened Realms. Oh no, he's not the designer for this War of Mine. Okay, good, I lied. Same. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Anyway, this game is, the video game is extremely brutal. It's very hard because the decisions that you have to make are never good. Like, you can kind of start off and then, but like almost everything is a double-edged sword where it's like, hey, not everyone has to work. Okay, send the elderly to the, the hospital beds or to the sick bay. And then as things get rough, you have to start making decrees where it's like, okay, if you're not dying, you have to work. It's like, but my leg's broken. You have another one. You fucking hop to it. Come on. It's rough, man. Like, I know you can go out and explore, at least in the video game, you can go out and explore other civilizations, like people who are surviving. I'm not 100% sure on how much of that is going to be in this game, but I know that they have a central mini to represent the coal heat forge. It looks pretty cool. So what does it say? Yeah, 4 players will take on the role of leaders of a small colony of survivors in a post-apocalyptic world that was hit by a severe ice age. Yeah, I think it's cooperative. I'm pretty sure it's cooperative. But then again, I thought that
I almost think it's semi-co-op, but I may be wrong. I don't know.
It's not even, it's not saying. It just
says. I think you're all trying to keep from the place from freezing up, but you still want to try to be the best. I may be wrong. But.
No, it says the players will decide the fate. Oh yeah, the fate of their people. Will you treat them like another resource? Are you going to be an inspiring builder? If you're, maybe it is. Huh. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. It's definitely not going to be easy.
No.
But yeah, that's my number 8, Frostpunk.
All right, my number 8 is the game that we've both backed on Kickstarter and spent a pretty penny on.
Okay.
Still in production. I think they're saying like mid 2023, whatever. The game that this system is based on is one of my favorite cooperative board games.
Oh.
And the theme, where I didn't like the card game as much, this one, throwing this theme on top of the Richard Lanius board game is what's going to make it. It's Freedom 5.
Yeah. Your favorite cooperative game being Sentinels of the Multiverse, right?
No, I didn't like Sentinels of the Multiverse.
I know.
I like, but Defenders of the Realm is what this is, the mechanically based on. It's just really neat. Like, I like the art style. Like, if you pull up a picture of like the board, the map that you're playing on, like, it's like the comic book city, and it's broken up. It looks like comic book frames and stuff, and you've got your numbers, and that's kind of your, like, Defenders. You had your placements that you would go to in odds and ends, but and I know you did the same as I did, but the minis are sweet as hell, and then they're pre-painted, and you get play mats, and it's just nuts. And having this kind of a neat superhero, unique superhero theme, because they're it's their own. Greater Than Games, when they made Sentinels of the Multiverse, I mean, they're all unique heroes, even though they're loosely based. You can tell on some different characters, but then just throwing it on this cooperative system of Defenders of the Realm, I think it was what sold it for me. I was
Yeah.
disappointed at the time when they decided not to do the new the new Defenders of the Realm.
Mhm.
And then they talk about this. So I don't know if this was what replaced it or what, but yeah, I mean, and I guess the other thing to bring up with this is how it is. It's Richard Launius's deal, but it also is the Sadler brothers.
Yeah, and that's what actually makes me concerned. That was kind of the reason why this didn't make it on this top 20 for me, because the Sadler brothers are kind of doing.
Well,
not
one of
well.
them left, and
One
then
of
the
them,
other,
right.
yeah.
So it's kind of like.
But the game was already made at that point, so
Mhm.
it's just all in production now.
Yeah, very curious, because their other game that they did, Hour of Need, fell super flat for me.
Mhm.
So I was like, well. So it's just, there's a lot of like more hesitation than I initially had, because back when we backed this, the Sadler brothers were like, it's like, oh man, Blacklist Games or what, like, or the Sadler brothers, hell yeah. And I was like, oh man. So I still think it's gonna be good, but I'm not as excited for it as I once was. But
I
am
think
excited
that's
for
the
those
saving
minis.
grace. That's the saving grace as well, that it's not Blacklist Games.
True.
Like Arcane Wonders is who's in control of this.
Yeah,
So
and I guess Greater Than Games, who did Spirit Island.
right. So I mean that they will have the final say in all this stuff. So even if there was
True.
so anyway, Freedom 5. I'm very excited for this one.
Awesome. All right. My number 7 technically doesn't have a Board Game Geek entry for it, so I had to do what the base game, was out, but they did officially announce when this is going on Kickstarter. So I'm hoping that they're going to be proficient enough to be able to get it out also in the same year, because I feel like the actual base game had a pretty good turnaround time. I was super stoked to hear about more content. This is a similar situation to like Cthulhu Death May Die. And so this is Townsfolk Tussle.
Gotcha.
Obviously, this came out not in 2023, came out in 2022. Early on, this actually might be considered a 2021 game. I think it was around that time where
You got it like right in the beginning of January, or
I did, yeah,
something.
but some people
Yeah.
kind of got it earlier.
Yeah.
But I did get an email, and they did say they're launching their campaign in February. So early enough in the year, they could still get it in 2023. But they did give a sneak peek of what I assumed that they were going to do, because in the original game, they gave you a map of like the world. And it's like, well, there's all these places they could do, because right now we're just in Eureka Springs, and there's all these other ones. So they talk about ominous skies, forecast says brawls and squalls from Sprinkle Falls. So that one says, worn down from the weather, citizens have taken upon themselves to migrate from Sprinkle Falls to our humble town of Eureka Springs. For every squad of ruffians looking to bring mayhem to Eureka Springs, there's a townsfolk race. So that looks like more bosses and more heroes or ruffians. Then there's eerie neighbors, wayward scruffs of Misty Bluff. The little town to the east of Eureka Springs, that's Misty Bluff. We try keeping our distance from that place. There's always been something slightly off about their locals. Not everyone from Misty Bluff has sinister intentions. One ex-Misty Bluff citizen in particular is doing everything she can to help defend Eureka Springs. So I'm also curious if that's just also more ruffians and more characters. And then they have tough times for the peddler, and this seems like it's a little bit different rules for how the peddler works. By collecting pieces of a gear set, townsfolk will be able to take on a role, granting them powerful abilities. So yeah, like I think Townsfolk Tussle is an amazing boss battler game. I love the Cuphead style theme. It just works out extremely well. I like the fact how the bosses come out where, depending on in what order you fight them, they're going to have something a little bit different, and they all have their own final battle rules. So I was actually making this game easier on myself. Apparently, I thought you could attack as long as you had the moxie or the action points to spend, but apparently you can only still attack once. Someone corrected me on my run throughs, and I'm like, oh, good. Like, because I was thinking it was a little bit easier. So yeah, this one's awesome. Panic Roll did this theme in this game justice. So more content, more bosses, more characters, more cards. I'm all for. So yeah, that's my number 7. Townsfolk Tussle, whatever they end up calling it.
Right. All right, my number 7 is one that's going to be really tight. It's going to have a tight window as far as a 2022, 2023. Depends on where the boats are going from the sounds of it, because some boats are scheduled and haven't left yet. Some boats have left, so
Okay.
it's just hard to say, when this is
You
going to
oh,
show up.
tight window of it being 2023. Is that
Right.
what we're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
like whether it's going to show up right here before the new year
I
or
see.
afterwards, because they have so many boats and so many containers. And I went on and put this.
Hey, I just talked about this one.
Yeah, I know. It like I said, it's tight. Like it says, they have 13 containers on the water and then there's 13 more containers booked, and there's 11 going this place, and so it's like, who knows when it's going to show up, but
yeah. Knowing my luck, I'm gonna get my fucking copy in January.
Right, and so that's why I put it here. It probably would have been higher if I would have known that it kind of fell back a little bit because it's just of that fact. I could get it in December. I don't know. But if you haven't heard about this game, you've been living under a rock or something, because this is the most popular Kickstarter of all time. It's doing Gloomhaven, but I think even better as far as a lot of
I
the
think so.
stuff. And then when they eventually come out with the map book, that's going to be a no-brainer. It's
tell me about it, man.
Yeah,
I've been playing a shit ton of Gloomhaven lately, and I'm like, I fucking hate these tiles.
so yeah, I'm super excited for this, and
I haven't looked too much into it. I'm curious if he actually did any gameplay changes. Like, how some items make no sense as to why they're why is a war axe a one-time use? I wonder if he did minor changes like that, or if it really is just a reskinned version of Gloomhaven.
I don't know. I'm sure that's a balancing thing, because it's not a one-time use, because it comes back, right?
Some of them. Some of them are okay. Yeah, some of them are tap, and then you long rest to get it back. And I'm like, what? Fine, whatever. But yeah, like the battle axe is consumable.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably just a balancing thing, because since you have such powerful cards in your hand, it's probably like,
Yeah. Because this is also when a character retires, they actually open up a shop and stuff, because you're building a community up in the north. Yeah.
So I'm just pumped for it. There's so much to this. This is going to be I've
been playing Gloomhaven on Steam with a buddy of mine. We've been trying to pump that out, and man, there's some issues with the Steam version, but when you play that and you go play it live, you're like, God, these tiles are so frustrating. I still prefer it, physically.
Right.
But there is something to say about the convenience of being able to just jump into a scenario. So when those books are made, then that'll be just as good. Oh, what scenario are we on? 43? Boom, here I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and it looks good. It doesn't look like beige and blue.
Yes.
So
it's all going to be gray and white now.
That's exactly what it's going to be until those books come out. So really hope. I haven't heard anything about those map books yet. I just know he said he's going to do them.
Yeah. He can do a Kickstarter for just those books and probably make a couple million.
Well, I know they're doing a Kickstarter for minis. So that's probably what he's going to do, is a Kickstarter for the books. So yeah, I at least gotta finish Gloomhaven before this comes out. So I have been pumping it out. I feel like I'm almost at the end.
I'm working my way that way too. Do you have the expansion?
Yes. oh, what was it called? Gloomhaven.
Yeah, Forgotten Circles.
Jaws of the Lion. No, Forgotten Circles. Yes, but I will probably not play that unless I can finish it before Frosthaven comes out.
I have it incorporated in mine right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so good deal. Yes, this is not on my list because I feel like it's gonna make it.
Yeah,
So this one was yeah. Because that one I knew about. I knew it was officially on the water. Madara, I was just told by some guy at Gen Con.
well, that's the thing. Like, I think like half of them are on the water and half of them haven't left yet. So it's like that's why I'm like, my luck, mine's going to be on the one that hasn't left yet.
Yep.
And then they could hit customs, and then I could slow them down a week or two. It's just like it's hard to say.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good deal. Yeah. Very excited. I made like what 18 million or something.
Is nuts. Whatever. That's
blew out KDM. Yeah, it's fucking wild. And I would imagine he's not done. Like if he has a world and this is in the north, it's kind of like the Elder Scrolls thing where it's like, okay, well now the next game could be to the east.
Yeah.
Or wherever the Valras are from, just and I hope so. I mean, obviously that would be amazing. Or unless he's just like, I made so much money off this, I don't want to make games anymore.
Yeah, it did 13 million.
13 million, yeah.
83,000 backers.
Wow. Yeah. So who knows? I don't know if he's still passionate to make games or what. We'll find out.
Yep.
All right. My number 6 is, dare I say it, yet another open world campaign game. It is, but this one is the designer is of a game that I'm not the biggest fan of. So I'm very excited to see how this one works. Granted, this one is fully cooperative. The other game he designed is not. And this is Iridia. The Past We Dare Trend. Cody Miller, the designer, did Zaya. And that's kind of where, that's the only thing I really know him from. But this basically says, like what the other ones say, is open world, campaign-based, cooperative, fantasy-based. Green Legacy, I think is what they're calling it now, where it's replayable instead of you trash a bunch of shit. So, yep, has exploration, open world to explore as much as you wish, make your way across the world map, discovering new locations, interacting with memorable characters. Progression, played as a campaign over the course of a number of game sessions. You start each session right where you left off. It tracks your actions and decisions. Your characters will grow in power, collecting new items, yada, yada, yada. This one's neat. NPCs and locations will change depending on how you interact with them. Then obviously there's combat, don't really know how combat's worked, and then role-playing, take on the roles of a wide cast of characters. So with it being a legacy style game, I have high hopes for this. Like I said, campaign games, I feel like only succeed by how you interact with them. That's the best part of being able to do these, to where you can come in and be like, oh, I want to play this type of character, and that has consequences to what you do. And if he's making it a living, breathing world where things move and stuff based off the decisions you make, then that allows you to go back and play it and try it a different way. So those are my favorite types of campaign games. Some of them, like, I don't see, like, once I beat Gloomhaven, I don't see myself immediately jumping back into it.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I know you can make a little bit different decisions, but it's not so branching that it's like, it doesn't sound like Gloomhaven's not what this is claiming to be, So yeah. Yeah, I mean, this one looks like it's a lot, but it's story based and decision based, and that's the kind of stuff I like. And I think that this cover is.
That's what I was gonna say. The art, it says artwork by Mr. Cuddington. He did that person did Tidal Blades.
Oh, okay. That's what I saw. Well, that's brilliant. Yeah. Because that game looks gorgeous. So, man, there's like a bunch of different artists on here. And then, yeah, I think Far Off Games is strictly same thing. Zaya, Tavarua. no idea. But then this one. So yeah, very excited for this one. And that's my number 6.
All right. Well, my number 6 is a solo only game. So shocking. And it's also by another company that I've spoke of a couple of times on this list. Once or twice. I can't remember anymore.
Okay.
But and that is Hoplomachus Victorum.
Is this 2023?
Yep.
Okay.
It's not.
I was able to pre-order it, so I wasn't sure
Right,
if it was
but
going to come out this
not-
year.
Yeah, it's still.
I didn't know.
Not about. No.
All right,
I
geez,
know
Brett,
that
calm
there's
down.
I know there's production copies hitting places and stuff for videos
Okay.
and everything, but I mean, I guess it could be right on the line or whatever, but this one is one. I got this one plus the new version of Hoplomachus, got them both at the same time. This one's cool because it's going to take the Hoplomachus system, throw it into a solo only, like little campaign kind of thing where you're going in to try to, I think you're trying to
fight
take
that
out
mountain.
Pluto. No, Pluto's the end god. You're fighting little gods and minions on different maps until you get to Pluto, who's the very last
Nice.
dude and everything. And it
It's like
uses
a
a
God
lot
of
of
War thing.
It looks like it for sure. Yeah. Because the other ones, Hoplomachus itself is more just like arena, it's more human on human fighting and stuff. This Victorum brings in the whole mythological stuff into it a little bit. And it's just, artwork's fantastic, solo only, chip theory games. I mean, you really can't go wrong with it. It's gonna be pretty sweet.
And I was able to, they finally had pre-orders for this on their website, which I didn't think they were going to do. And again, I was looking at that and their Kickstarter, and I'm like, I don't think there's anything missing here. So I think it's just really cool that Chip Theory does that, where it's like, hey, we have a Kickstarter, but it's also on our store. Like you can get, as far as I know, pretty much everything, because they don't really do like a bunch of promos or Kickstarter exclusives.
So it says, they're saying that the last update says bad news. We're not going to hit our projected fulfillment dates of October-ish. There's been developments. It's going to push it off. I don't see exactly when to, but
gotcha.
Oh, January, February of 2023.
Oh, okay. All right, perfect.
Yep. So anyway, there you go.
Okay. All right. I lied. There is another game that is not a campaign game that is in this top 10. It is cooperative though, but this is basically Monster Hunter, the board game, but it's not by Steamforged, so this is probably going to be good. My number 5 is Primal: The Awakening. So this one is what?
It's a cool cover.
It is a really cool cover, and this basically, from what I'm looking at and from the gameplay I have seen, it is a boss battler. So you hunt these massive monsters like you do in Monster Hunter, chip off things and use their resources to make armor and stuff. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the KDM set, where you will be constructing different types of gear that'll help you go out and fight the various other types of massive creatures that have their own unique way of fighting. There's not a whole lot of boss battlers in the genre, which I'm surprised. Like Townsfolk Tussle is one, obviously KDM, and then they're starting to come out more and more. Like this one is a high one. Steamforged is doing Monster Hunter. But yeah, this one is a very succinct kind of game. Like there's not like a big sprawling map for the monster to be on. It seems very kind of like the Dark Souls boss fights, where it was just, okay, here they are. They have a direction, forward, back, and then the sides, and positioning is everything. And you can do really cool things. I know there's once again, Rado did a run through for this, and he was showing that you can like get on a rock and jump on the back, and you can actually have to try and stay on it, but then you can use your massive sword to like attack it while you're trying to balance yourself. I think that stuff like that is super neat. It says, I mean, oh, I lied. There is a campaign,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. It's not. It doesn't look like it's not like narrative driven. Um, I'm lying. I'm openly lying to everyone because I'm just never. Each mission you choose will lead to different developments of the story. To plenty of unique opportunities like crafting options, unique items, and rare hunts to be played. I'm just.
There you go.
I only had one game. It was Townsfolk Tussle. That wasn't a campaign story-driven game. Here's another one. So this one has been on my radar for a while though, because I hate KDM with a passion. So I'm like, oh my god, I need to find something better. And obviously, this doesn't offer the same amount, but it looks like it's going to be extremely cool. So yeah, that's my number 5, Primal: The Awakening.
All right. Well, my number 5 is an expansion to this sprawling game that I have too much of as it is. The Kickstarter actually was at the beginning of 2019. So the Kickstarter
Ooh.
was, so it's been a long time coming.
Wow.
And that is Shadows of Brimstone Adventures. They are making headway on it.
I'm like, they've put out other Shadows of Brimstone stuff
Not
since then. The Forsaken Fortress, right?
Well, the Kickstarter for it was a couple years prior to that. So, but it got released.
Oh,
shortly
wow.
after this was, yeah. So, but yeah, this one, I mean, they're making headway. They do their monthly updates, and they're making headway. It's just it's looking like probably like mid 23,
Wow.
like Q2, Q3 of this next year. But which is fine because I still have more miniatures to put together anyway.
I'm looking at this cover and I'm like, that archer is the worst archer in the world. Why the fuck is she like on that frost giant's leg?
Well, and this is actually not a cover.
All the melee people are away and she's the only range. She's like, oh, get up there, guys.
And this is actually not a cover to the game. This is like the Kickstarter banner cover, like because what this was, Shadows of Brimstone Adventures was 2 new core boxes. There was Gates of Valhalla and Valley of the Serpent Kings. That just add more, flesh out 2 of the worlds more that didn't from the original Kickstarter.
Okay.
It adds a little more narrative into it and stuff. So there's just, again, this is another one of those things I went all in on, and it's gonna have way too much stuff, and they still make over $1 million every time they put out a Kickstarter. So
yeah, I mean, I wish I could share in the experience by playing Shadows of Brimstone. If only someone owned everything.
If I had a
for
big
it.
ass game table and didn't have to travel anywhere, we could play it here.
Well, get a big ass game table.
Well, I gotta finish my basement first.
Finish your basement.
Don't you like my nice?
How
Star
hard
Wars
is that?
Yeah.
How hard is it to just get your
college? My 2 kids get out of college, I will
throw them away. Throw the kids away.
So that's my number 5, Shadows of Brimstone. So this has been on my most anticipated list. I think this is the 3rd straight year it's been on my anticipated list. So just gonna keep going. Maybe I won't be on next year's now.
I know. 2023. If it's there, just give up.
Yep.
All right, my number 4. I feel like it's actually been on these anticipated lists probably for the past at least 2 years. Luckily I was actually able to talk to this publisher at Gen Con this year, and they actually had a prototype of this and he was basically explaining, hey, we wanted to be here to show that it's being made because it has taken them some time. Believe it or not, it is another story-driven co-op game. So
shocking.
I know. I barely play them, and it's not like my entire channel is now basically a let's play of campaign games. Anyway, this is in the same universe as another fantastic horror game called Deep Madness, and this is Dawn of Madness, Dimension Games. And at this time of this recording, Deep Madness is back on Kickstarter. So I'm not even endorsed by them to say that. I just think that game is fantastic. I'm not 100% sure on how this game plays, though. That's the interesting part. I just backed this because it was related to Deep Madness, and I really like that one. But it says story-driven co-op game of survival horror. Players will assume the role of wanderers trapped in a feverish hellscape surrounded by distorted echoes of their own history. Experience true horror unlike any board game before, as you are immersed in stories of terror and madness using the amplified powers of your mind. The choices made throughout the chapter and even the order those choices are made in influence almost every aspect of the game, ensuring that no playthrough will ever be exactly the same. Adding even more variety, danger, and tension are the chapter agnostic mini bosses and their distortions who plague each game in unique and changing ways. So, I mean, it's that just sounds amazing. Like, again, I love choices in games, and I love when those choices actually matter. Now, sometimes when the choices you make is not beneficial to you, that can kind of suck, but I like that consequence. It's just some of my favorite games are choice-based, RPGs like Mass Effect or something.
Right.
And the cool thing about this, and I got to see it actually hands-on, was kind of like Artisans of the Splendid Vale. Every character in here also has their book, their own unique scenario, that pertains to them as a character. It's a lot. It's a lot of text. I'm not saying that justifies how long it's taken, but at least is some sort of explanation because it's a lot of text and they're a small team. So, and then they actually did release a book, like an actual full-fledged novel that I was reading. It's not bad. It's actually not horrible writing. So, which you would expect it to be cringe, hot topic, edgelord, shit, but it's not. So yeah, there's actually a picture in here. Or sorry, it's not on the Board Game Geek. It's on their Kickstarter thing where it just kind of show the 4 storybooks. And then also it shows like tokens like as puzzle pieces. So I'm intrigued by that. And yeah, I went all in on this fucking thing. This one was another drop of some money. So
Yeah.
very excited because Deep Madness is amazing, and this looks to be different and a little bit more story driven than Deep Madness is. So yeah, that's Dawn of Madness. This kind of feels, whereas Deep Madness felt like Dead Space, this feels a little bit more like Evil Within.
Yeah.
Which Evil Within I thought were horrible video games, but I like the atmosphere. So we'll see. They did attribute it to Evil Within and Silent Hill.
Yeah, I was going to say Silent Hill is what I was kind of picturing.
Yeah, which if that's the case, then that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
all right.
Number 4.
My number 4, it's either higher on your list or you've got to talk about it at some point, whether on the next video or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the next iteration in a series of games, solo games that are absolutely fantastic. We've talked about it. It's made lists of ours over the last couple of years, the original set of games. And I'm super excited for these and the storage system that comes along with it. And that's going to be Final Girl Series 2. So I know this is the first series, one of the first series boxes,
right.
But anyway, so this next series of deals are going to be intriguing because they went a little different with this next series, throwing in the alien and throwing in the
what, Red Riding Hood?
Well, that, but I was the snow one, the Thing.
Oh, the Thing.
Yeah, the Little Red Riding Hood, and then they like the psychiatric hospital one, the Ratchet Lady. So those are going to be pretty sweet, I think. And we've talked about this before, how, I mean, they could just keep pumping this shit out. I mean, there's so many deals they could do with this. The storage solutions are awesome, especially the big storage solutions they come out with in this, where it looks like a big VCR, like tape deck thing that holds everything, and it's just bonkers.
Because they've announced season 3. Nothing
they've said
specific.
There's going to be. They haven't said anything about. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if the storage solution for this is already going to incorporate season 3.
I hope so.
I would hope so too. I'd be pissed.
That'd piss me off to spend that money on a season 2, and then
because they announced that they're doing
3. God damn it!
Right.
Maybe they're gonna have like a beta. You're probably too young to remember, because they had VHS tapes and then they had beta tapes. Do you remember beta?
No.
They were like smaller. They were like half the size of a VHS tape.
Okay.
So I could see them like if they do season 3, have like a beta system. that you put
Oh
the-
god, that'd be
you put the
so
stupid
funny.
things in.
It
'Cause
has to sit
that'd
on
be very
top.
80s. That'd be very 80s. But yeah, no, and this one also has what I like about the series too. Also, that the first series didn't have was the vehicles.
Yeah.
Because then you could get series 1 vehicles in this as well. So you're going to be getting like golf carts and cop cars and
Mhm.
boats and all that bullshit, and the big suit that Ripley climbed into, the big
Yeah.
mech suit.
The
all
mech
that.
suit.
So this was one I'm really excited for, just because.
Mhm.
And they also, I think because I did the add-on, I'm sure you did too, but they had those books that had those like the story stuff, like you read them after the
Oh, the unique like endings.
yeah, but there was
Yeah.
those books you could add it on with this one and stuff, so I got those too. And
Yep.
it's just this is just an awesome series, and this one made a lot of money. This one was a big deal for them,
Yeah.
for being a solo only game. I think it broke the record for the highest grossing solo only game,
Mhm.
and it's just crazy. It's one I'll just keep throwing all my money at whenever it comes out.
Yep. Yep. No, this is not on this list. Even though I mean, there were games that were slated to come out obviously next year, but these ones just kind of were a little bit more unique, or I was more excited for these.
Oh yeah,
So-
and when we talk about that list on our next video, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on that list that I fought hard to. I mean, there's some awesome games even on that list,
Mhm. Yeah,
So-
exactly. Okay. My number 3 also might end up coming out in 2022. They actually I think after I made this list, I got an email from them saying it like their beginning was kind of like talking about, oh, how a lot of shit happened and like they weren't able to get it out. And then they were like, just kidding. Everything is going according to plan. So I don't know if I'm gonna get mine. My luck, I get all my games late. I don't know what it is living in the middle of the country, but they're like, okay, you will get it at the end of all the fulfillment.
It's Missouri. You just live in Missouri. That's
Yeah, it's just a shithole no matter what. So anyway, if there is any game that is going to either dethrone KDM or be another alternative, it is this one. Like all the other boss battlers, like will scratch that itch. I've even done a top 10 games that are better than KDM for certain aspects. This one really feels like it's KDM, just a different theme, but by totally different company. And that is Aeon Trespass Odyssey. So this cover explains why I'm attributing it
Yeah.
to KDM. It is grotesque, fucking wild ass monsters that you have to battle. But it is if KDM was in Greek mythology. So this says, take control of the Argo and its crew, train them and send them on adventures into the dangerous and mysterious lands of ancient Greece. Learn the world's secrets and create new technologies that will give you an edge in combat and outside of it. Manage your resources and develop your base of operations. So like a hunt phase, settlement phase, and boss phase is kind of really where this is at. Campaign game about adventurers, exploration, and fierce battles with giant monsters. Cooperative, choice-driven board game experience played over multiple sessions. There is a lot. I have seen their production pictures. There is, I actually was looking through their rule book and I'm like, that is a lot of little shit to remember. But my God, and this is just, I'm getting the core box and there's like, I think there's 5 waves of this. But yeah, like the miniatures for this, which you don't have to assemble, from what I can tell, are insane. I'm hoping, because what they did for this Kickstarter was they would do updates and talk about all the lore, which I never read, but I'm hoping that's all thrown into the game as well. So you're being able to learn what they were, originally saying. You learn that in the game. But yeah, it looks pretty insane with the amount of content, with the amount of cards, and how combat works. I mean, it's even showing the board and there's like a monster right in the middle of it, which is like, oh yeah, yep, that's what you did with KDM. Boss was right in the middle and it's hex based. or square based movement. So yeah, the art for this just looks phenomenal. So I mean, without really just going to their Kickstarter page and talking about it, just think it's a settlement campaign, choice driven story where you fight insane godlike creatures and beings, but Greek mythology. I think that's awesome. So what does this say? Aeon's Trespass Odyssey places the players in the role of Argonauts, the only people who can fight off the darkness and make things right. Cool. Sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
I probably would have backed this if I would have been thinking about it back in the day.
Yeah, I late pledged this, and the amazing thing is I think for everything it was like $500,
Yeah.
if not a little bit more, and it's just as much content as KDM. I still don't understand how that game is. I mean, he's blatantly exploiting the people who are in denial,
Yeah.
and that's the shit that pisses me off. It's like you don't have to charge that much.
hmm
So
Yep.
so yeah, that's my number 3, Aeon Trespass Odyssey.
All right. My number 3 is another, I think it's, yeah.
Solo only game.
I play it solo only.
Oh, okay.
It's I think it's a standalone or an expansion, depending on how you want to play it. And it's for a game that I adore. It's yet another Chip Theory product list.
Oh, okay.
And there's Too Many Bones Unbreakable.
Damn, you've had like every Chip Theory game.
I've had 1, 2,
You had Burns. You have 4.
3, 4. This is the
Yeah.
4th one on this list.
You've had all their games except Cloudspire, but they're done with that. So
Yeah.
And you
I
haven't
just
played
I love Chip Theory. I like, there's just, you just know, like, you know, you just pull out
Yeah.
a game, you just know it's their
Yeah.
stuff, and because they put so much personality into the cards and stuff too, and all that
Mhm.
stuff with it.
Yeah, they
But
make a
this-
Euro game thematic. Like,
Yeah. It's so cool, and this one's bringing in a few more gear locks, a few more tyrants. You get different the little battle match you fight. There's different
Mhm.
obstacles with it, with as far as like the lava and different stuff. You have Gale and Figment. Those are your 2 main ones, like on the cover, and then you could add on. Oh shoot, can't think
what
of
was
his
it
name
like?
now. It was
I don't know, the one that like uses carcass.
Yeah, Carcass, and then there was another one too. I think Carcass and somebody else.
All I can tell
Polaris.
you,
Oh, Carcass, Polaris, and Static. I think those
Yeah.
were the other ones. That,
this trove chest is packed. It's
Oh, yeah.
full.
yep.
Like, because I just got my trove chest in, and they gave all the stuff to fill it out already.
Mhm.
And what kind of sucks is the thing for the gear locks isn't like you have to have gear lock trays sit on top. Like it's not in a row anymore, which I
Yeah.
get. Like they couldn't make a whole new trove chest to accompany it, but
When
I was
you
like-
got that trove chest, did you have the case for the new one that you could pre-order? That we pre-ordered?
yes.
I was just
Yep.
curious if they had
Yep,
it.
they're all there. It's there is no more room.
Gotcha. So yeah, but this adds, you know, it has the new expansion. You know, everybody got that one expansion for free for backing it. The 40 Caves of Daylor. It just adds more
Mhm.
junk. This is just more, but it's such a good game, and each character it's just so.
We can probably do our ranking
Stinks.
of the gear locks. I've played them all solo.
I've got them all played now. Except for obviously these.
Yeah, we could do it in anticipation for this one. I think could be
Right.
fun.
Yep.
One thing, so this isn't on my list either, although it easily could have been. The one thing I will say is Chip Theory's customer support is one of the best.
Mhm.
They are
Sure.
fucking. Whenever I sold this and then I bought it all back again later, but when I sold this, it arrived the guy completely destroyed. And I was like, I'll reach out to them. It's in no way their fault. And they have no responsibility to do anything, but why the fuck not? This sucks for both of us. And they were like, we can give you $50 store credit. I'm like, okay, like, sure. Like, I don't know. I even told them, I'm like, you guys have no reason to do anything here. Like, but I figured maybe there's something. I don't know. But they're
Well,
awesome.
And they're one of those weird companies that, as heavy as their games are, they still have that cheap ass shipping. Like you look at like
Mhm.
CMON and all those, how they spend, and it's $15 shipping or whatever, no matter how
Yeah.
much stuff you buy.
Yeah.
And with these guys, and it's just crazy, all that stuff, because their
I don't
games
get
are
it.
very, very heavy with all the chips and the neoprene and all that stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how they get away with it, but clearly they're doing well.
Yep. So anyway, that's my number 3.
All right. My number 2. Can you guess? What type of game it is?
The campaign-driven game.
You know, you would think that, but it actually is a cooperative campaign
Oh,
game.
damn it.
Yeah, you forgot that little moniker there. No, this one I feel like when this comes out, I will probably not play the other type of game that it is, because one, I already don't play that as much because it takes a lot of time. This is, you can go ahead. I don't have any more segues into it. It's the Seventh Citadel.
Yeah.
With a little butthole on the cover. It is, so like I said, Seventh Continent is a survival exploration game. This is a adventure game, and this is a lot more narrative driven. This has a lot of, it's called a post-apocalyptic medieval fantasy world. You play as a slave gardener who escapes from the citadel of necro-druid Nini Desir, only to find yourself confronted by an even greater threat. So this has basically the same gameplay style as Seventh Continent, but it's actually a story. Like I mean, yeah, there's story stuff in Seventh Continent that you can find, and you get okay, well, what happened here based off of the curse that you pick. But the curses were just more about, go here, you're trying to relieve it and maybe find stuff along the way. This seems to be a little bit more on rails with a lot of interaction that you can have, which I think is going to be more of my alley. Seventh Continent, I mean, I think it's still a great game, but that is a kind of like almost how you have to schedule it to want to play, just because it's so open-ended. You have to basically be like, we're doing nothing but this today. Because who knows what we're going to do. We might go left when we need to go right. And that was our downfall. So this one, I feel like, will just be a lot more fun. Like, it has the same grid card-based thing that you lay out, but people you can talk to, events you come across, locations you come across, all in a post-apocalyptic medieval fantasy world. That's unique. Haven't seen that, so I think that's going to be super cool.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I have extremely high hopes. Obviously, it's my number 2 anticipated game of 2023. I think this is going to be outstanding. The only thing I don't know about, which based off their track record with Seventh Continent, I'm not 100% sure on how replayability works.
Mhm.
If it's anything like I would anticipate, you can probably do the same scenario multiple times with different outcomes. It also doesn't really give a whole lot if each scenario connects, if it's an overarching campaign or if you just pick one. Not 100%. I'm sure that's on their Kickstarter, but I'm only looking at their Board Game Geek thing. And yeah, I think this is going to be awesome. I went all in on this as well. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, I'm in a holding pattern on this one. I'm going to wait and see what people say about it when it actually comes out and gets played before I jump in. But
that's
yeah,
fair.
It intrigues me for sure.
It does kind of seem like everyone's saying the same thing, is that Seventh Continent is great, but as people started having more and more issues with it, when one fucking curse takes 1,000 hours, it's like, I just want to beat it. Like, I don't know where I need to go, and this doesn't seem to have that issue. So, but you're right. I guess we'll see.
Yep. All right. Well, my number 2 is a crossover.
I would guess Cthulhu Death May Die.
No.
Oh. Then I don't know. I only thought we would have 2 crossover. Oh my god, yeah. I forgot that was my number 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Icebreaking Guard. This has been highly anticipated for me. I think it was on my anticipated from last year as well. It might even have been my number one from last year. I can't remember. It
I
was up
think
there.
so. It was really high.
Yeah, this one I'm pumped for. I mean, I just
So
I
you're
don't.
saying all these characters on the cover, they're matched up with someone?
Yes,
And
like if you
that's the
look,
narrative?
if you go to the Facebook page, or not Facebook, the Kickstarter page, and just scroll down a little bit, you'll see each miniature is a pair of two people,
Okay.
and then that miniature moves around together, and that story follows those characters. Um, so
Okay.
so like the foreteller storytelling goes along with that
I
story,
see.
along with that set of miniatures.
Okay.
So and then it's got your bag building, battle, action and
Oh, and it has the different books for
right,
those.
right. So
That's interesting.
yeah, it's a
That's
different thing, and it's not
Yeah.
it's the replayability. I don't think is going to be super high, but there's so much content. I think it's gonna. I feel like it has like that Gloomhaven deal, like you're gonna have 4 storylines you're gonna travel through because you have the 4 sets of people, but
Mhm.
but once you've played with them, you really aren't gonna play with it again. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
just because you know the story and everything. But it wasn't that super expensive of a game though. That's the thing. It's like because I think I spent like it's like $109,
Yeah.
and it's like all the stuff you get for it. It's just I was like, even if it's not replayable, you're playing through 4 things with all that how huge the box is and everything. But yeah, I'm pumped for this. It's super high quality. I love the poker chip action and battles, resolution stuff. Um, it's just looks really cool. And then the updates that you get for this, if you check out their updates, they actually put clips of the of some of the foreteller stuff on there
Nice.
to hear, and it's just it just sounds like it's going to be pretty badass.
Yeah. No, that's yeah, that all sounds super cool.
Okay, that's my number 2.
All right. You have any guess what my number 1 anticipated game is?
I mean, it's
I'll give you a hint.
solo or a cooperative
It's a
campaign,
cooperative campaign game.
and it's not Frosthaven because
It's not Frosthaven, no.
yeah,
Um
I'm sure I will know when you say it.
yeah,
Obviously,
it should be immediately apparent. It'll be so obvious to you once you
Mhm.
once you see it. It's the sequel to my favorite game of all time currently.
Oh,
and
yep,
that-
yep. I know what it is.
Yep.
Yep.
And that is Sleeping Gods,
Yeah.
Distant Skies. There was no question that as soon as I finished Sleeping Gods, and that was a campaign game that I was actually like I want to finish, like I want to keep playing this. And as soon I was like, man, I really hope that he does like a sequel or he does more to this. And then lo and behold, I was like, oh, back immediately. It yeah, standalone sequel. You and your friends trek through a vast landscape as you read branching storylines and meet vivid characters. But in this game, you interact with the Atlas on a deeper level. So whereas original Sleeping Gods was you were a crew and you kind of did everything together, this like it says expands on that a lot more. You actually have camping, exploring, overcoming obstacles, and searching for lost relics. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the characters are more fleshed out. They're not just kind of like, hey, we're crew members. Like you actually build them up a little bit. Let's see. Although Sleeping Gods Distant Skies builds on story elements in the first game, you do not. Okay, so it's not like really tied into the first one. The game features new characters and storylines, explaining concepts from the original game as you encounter them. So yeah, I mean, my favorite game right now is Sleeping Gods. I believe it's the best and probably only example of a true sandbox game in a board game form. So I'm hoping that stays the same for this, just with more depth to give characters a little bit more personality than they already had. And yeah, I am super stoked. And the fact that with this one comes foreteller narration for this and the
Yes.
original. So that's good to make it way more immersive. Yeah, this is easily Ryan Lockett's best game. Not this one, but Sleeping Gods.
I would have had this on my list if I had played the base game yet.
Oh my God, you haven't played it? It's so
No.
good.
I know. I just haven't cracked it yet.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
Yeah. So I'm sure I'll enjoy it. But anyway, yeah, that's why it's not on my list.
Fair enough.
All right. What about my number one?
I would now assume Cthulhu Death May Die. Okay.
Yeah, you're good. I actually had to change this a little bit because I had been making a list,
Mhm.
and Ice Siberian Guard was my one. And then when we got the news of this coming out,
You're
it
like,
was just like, doom, way up to the top. Yeah. So this one is gonna be just kick ass all the way around. I mean, I have everything from the first Kickstarter except for the big miniature and the mission. So this one, I've been anticipating this season 3 for a long time, like as everybody else was. I fully expect there to be this season 3, and I would almost lay money there's going to be a 4 thrown in with this Kickstarter as a CMON extra add-on or some sort of craziness to just get more money out of us. But so yeah, more heroes, more
old
old ones, more of the episodes, just more of that stuff to mix and match together. If you've seen any of the pictures, because there's people that were taking pictures from the Essen booth of some of the monsters and stuff, they look kind of weird and grotesque, weird looking. So I'm just excited for it, just to get more content. We have so many investigators as it is.
No.
So I almost wish they would throw more monster
Old
types
ones.
of old ones in, because there's a bunch of episodes. We have, when you get the Unspeakable box, I mean, I'm talking like you have a thick stack.
I want to say it's like 40 total investigators.
I would say even more than that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, just guessing. I'm ballpark, of course, but
yeah.
But because there was a handful just in season 1 and season 2, and then that Unspeakable box has a huge stack.
Yeah.
And everything, and it's pretty crazy. And I would love them to lean into a box that is just like just a few more old ones, and
more old ones, more monsters. I would even like to see more what was it, like
the episodes?
No, I mean, they're gonna have more episodes. You know how you like conditions, you know how you had like obsessive compulsive disorder. I would like to see more of those as well.
The things that trigger whenever you cross that threshold.
Yeah, just something that more unique, because obviously with the story stuff comes more items, so that's already kind of there. I would love if they did season 3 and they did an update tile pack. Make those tiles bigger.
Like, see,
I don't think they will, but it would be awesome.
Yeah,
not a deal breaker. I'm not going to be like, I'm not backing this now, but like, come on, like, just do it.
Yeah. Oh, I don't disagree at all. I mean, I would definitely, or even if they made an add-on, that was just full size, $50 to get all the tiles and bigger size.
Yep.
But
yeah, I agree.
That's my number one, the obvious choice.
All right. Well, that was it, everyone. That was our top 20 anticipated games for 2023. Let us know what games you're excited for in 2023 as well. And also go check out our other video where we just talk about the games that didn't quite make this list. And like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.